Okay, we're ready.
Right.
So, here we go. I'll just start off by giving you a bit of an introduction, if that's all right, Les, to our listeners and our viewers. So, we've got, well, first of all, what is your name?
Leslie Albert Brennan.
Leslie Albert Brennan. And where were you born?
In Sydney.
Sydney?
Sydney.
What part of Sydney?
In 18th of April 1932. Yeah. One. I just deflected one. My wife was born in 32. I was born in 31.
There you go. And today's date is the Thursday, the 1st of October 2020. Where I'm thankful enough that Les has invited me to his home in Western Sydney. And I'll just give the listeners a bit of an introduction on who he was and or who he is, and but most, why I'm interviewing you in the first place.
Right.
So you have the record, the Australian first grade rugby league record for the highest career strike rate, which is 32 tries in 24 matches. That's quite an impressive record.
It is, I suppose, when you look at it that way.
Yeah. Right. I'll talk about it a little bit
later.
Yeah. Go into detail a bit later.
Yeah.
As of right now, Charlie Staines has scored 6 tries in 2 matches for Penrith. So, but I don't think he's gonna catch her. I don't think he'll keep it up unless he retires right now.
I put that down to the difference in the game between the 1950s and today. It's an entirely different game. It's more opportunities perhaps in the old days.
Yeah.
With no restriction on the number of tackles.
Yeah.
Today you got 6 tackles to do something with, and a lot of the occasions the winger's not getting the ball. So that's it. So as you can probably understand, I'm very in favour of the old game.
Yes. Now I'll just say a few more things. So Les was a part of the South Sydney Rabbitohs 1954 premiership winning side.
Correct.
Which he played 19 games, scoring 29 tries, which is still today the South Sydney Rabbitohs record for most tries in a season. He played only 5 more games in his career in 1955 before he retired, and we'll go into that a little bit more in detail later. Right. His record of 29 tries in the season in 1954 is the South Sydney Rabbitohs record, and is the third highest tries in a season of all time. But funnily enough, he didn't even get the highest try scorer in the 1954 season. Ray Preston beat you.
That's correct. There was Newtown and South were playing the open style of football.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Right. The wingers were getting the ball. That's what the difference was. As they think from today, when people think the wingers are getting the ball today, but really they're not getting anywhere near what it was like. That was something that Jack Rayner decided on years and years ago when he first started coaching, that the wingers had to get the ball, and that was it. So just everything. The whole idea when I was playing with him, was in 55. It was the same in 53 with the wingers who were on there.
Yeah.
That they had to get the ball to the outside of the wingers as quickly as possible, because give them room to move, and that was it. And the damage was being done, and that's the whole reason why. On that year, I think Ian Moore scored 25. I scored 29.
Yep, I've got that written down. He scored 21.
21,
and you scored 29, which is the second most of all time combined. Wingers. And the first was the Newtown guys, Ray Preston
and Kevin Considine.
Yeah, he scored 21, Kevin, and Ray scored 34.
34.
And then first of all time, most tries in a season was Dave Brown in 1935. He scored 38 tries in 15 matches. He scored 22 in the month of August. Jesus.
Unfortunately, he played for Eastern Suburbs.
Yeah, that's right.
I've got to get that in.
Did you ever meet Dave?
No. He might have been... I think he might have been passed away by the time I was coming out.
Okay. Yeah,
I've got no idea, honestly, about it. But, the difference in the game, as I put it down to, that's the situation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes. And that's that's about all from the introduction, and I guess we'll get into the. So that's why another thing I want to say. When I'm a bit of a rugby league nerd, as you may know, that's why I'm here. And when I was younger, when I was like 10 years old, I used to do heaps of research about tries per game. I was obsessed with the tries per game, and I found your name, and I was like, oh my god, Les Brennan, is he alive? And I couldn't, he's still alive.
I am.
Yeah, he is. And I was trying to, 10 years ago, when I was or 11 years ago when I was 10 years old, I couldn't find you because I found your son on Facebook, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find you, and then I just recently I was like, oh, Les Brennan, I need to interview Les Brennan because there isn't much on you on the internet. There's only an article, and your Wikipedia page doesn't really have anything on it, so.
No, it's the unfortunate part of it is, I was playing with South in 51, but I was playing third grade and reserve grade, and then I finally cracked it in 54. And as I thought in those days, I'd made it. I'm going to make me what do you call it, the pot of gold by playing first grade.
Yep.
And that little did I realise how much they paid in those days.
How much did they, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not for 1954. I played 19 games. I got £189.
But what would that be today in these days, approximately?
Double it.
Yeah, but
in today.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to think what. Well, I mean, if you look at what the people have been paid in money, actually, I don't even know what they pay what the South Sydney players are paid. I've got no idea, but it's what we got paid in those days. To explain the situation, we got paid through the gate. So what the people paid to come in and watch the games was distributed at the end of the year to the first grade, reserve grade and third grade players. They had to pay all those, roughly, when you work it out, there's 13 each in each. There's 3 times 39, you've got 3 13s of 30, that's 30, but what's that, 39, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then all reserves and not the whole lot like comes out, so, but that's the way it works out to be. And there was no people on contract. The only person who got extra money was Jack as a coach, the captain coach. He got double money.
Yeah.
Put me the captain coach, and that was the size of it. So we had to play good football to get the people to come in the door. Once they come in the door and paid their money through the gate, that was it. But the big loss today is the fact that we've only got one game a day. That's all. Up in the old days, you could go to Redfern Oval and see 3 games.
Yeah,
First grade, reserve grade, third grade. And sit there with the kids all afternoon, have a great day out for 3 games of football.
Yeah, right.
That's lost now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's the size of it. I suppose I shouldn't say, but I think money has spoilt the game.
Yeah, sure.
Well and truly.
Yeah.
I think I actually don't. I can't remember what I got for the 5 games in 55. Who knows, perhaps? But anyway, what I got out of it was a blazer.
Yeah, a blazer.
Which I still have.
Yeah, right. Do you still have your old jerseys? Or
I got one.
You've got one?
I got one of them left.
Did you get a new jersey every game, or?
No. We were equipped with one jersey, and that's it, and socks. We had to pay for our own shorts and boots.
You got to pay for your own stuff.
That was it. That was the size of it.
And you had to pay for your own stuff, but people were, there was tens of thousands of people coming to watch, right? The games.
Yeah, we got fair crowds, but I mean it wasn't much through the gate in those days. But I mean that's how you really the idea was explained at a later date that the more attractive football you paid, that's what people wanted to see, and that was it. And with Newtown and us at Newtown and South, were the 2 leading sides, obviously with the scoring tries and things like that. People were coming to see. They'd flock. And the other thing you remember in those days, the top game of the week was played on the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Sure. So
you might have been drawn to play Newtown at Redfern Oval, but when the draw came, when the week arrived, the Rugby League had decided that's the match of the day. That'd be transferred to the Sydney Cricket Ground. Now, if you went to the Sydney Cricket Ground, which was the idea, you got half a crowd again. So now if you can draw 10,000 through the gate at Redfern Oval, you're definitely going to get 20,000 in the Sydney Cricket Ground, and that helps. You know, money, spooler, completely.
Yeah.
But
what did you prefer, playing at Redfern or the Sydney Cricket Ground?
all teams played at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Which one did you like, playing at Redfern or the SOG more?
I liked Redfern Oval.
Yeah.
The old days, Redfern Oval was facing the other direction, and I've got we used to run up and down, east to west, rather than north and south.
Okay.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
And the only difference was a little. I'll put it this way: class distinction at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Yeah.
You were allowed. You got a ticket for your wife. She had to sit in the outer, in the stands. I'm sorry, not the outer, and we had to sit with them.
Yeah.
And then when the first grade was coming up, I could walk into the members area and get changed to go out.
Yeah, great.
But the wives weren't allowed to go in. They'd wait outside for you.
Yeah, right.
Big difference today.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah. But then again, that's the way football was in those days.
Yeah, sweet.
You know?
So you just brought your family, watched reserve grade and third grade.
Oh yeah,
and then you just
take the whole family.
Lace your boots up and off you went.
Yeah. Well, in those days, there was no. I only had a wife in those days, and the child was still to come.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, there you go. So I'll start off with talking about your family, and if that's all right, like where you're from and maybe a bit about your background.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good for especially when maybe your grandkids and stuff like that listen to it. It'd be good.
Well, I originally when I went to Marist Brothers High School at Darlinghurst.
Yeah. Right.
As all my family did, and when I left work, I played obviously with Darlinghurst, and I played CYO football with Forest Lodge in 46 and 47.
Yeah.
And I left school in 1947.
How old were you then?
16.
16, yeah.
16. I was born in 31. And then the following year, that was 48, I moved. I was invited by one of the blokes I went to school with. He lived in Mascot.
Yeah.
And Mascot CYO. I'll go back. We won the competition in 47.
With Darlinghurst?
But we got disqualified. We had a ring in.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, in those days you had to be a tyke.
Sorry?
He was using somebody else's birth certificate.
Oh, no.
And he was under a dicky name, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, right.
I won't mention what it was. But when we won the competition, but had to take an office.
Oh, no.
So we still got blazers. But
still got blazers.
It was too late, but the blazers being distributed when we won the competition. So basically there was, in theory, there was two lots won it. Well, that's the year. But Forest Lodge was banned from the next competition for the next year. So my chap I went to school with, he invited me to get out to Mascot, and that's where I met my wife. And I played with the CYO at Mascot, and I can tell it probably very strange. It seems strange to me now. It wasn't from those days. He ended up the coach of the side at Mascot was Kevin Wolfe.
Okay.
Whom I later played first grade football with in 54.
Yeah, right.
And he was invited down from to coach to play with South, because in that particular stage they had to have residential qualifications. So we come from Bathurst down to spend 12 months in Mascot to be residentially qualified to play in there.
Play for South, yeah.
But the funny part about it, the following year they scrubbed their residential qualifications.
Yeah. What year did they?
55.
55.
They scrubbed it.
Okay. Sure.
So Kevin was it, and then I ended up. I got graded in 51. Sorry.
Yep.
And I then spent a year in third grade, a year and a half in basically.
Third grade was that third grade or was that under 23s?
No, the under 23s was the President's Cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I've actually got your stats for the third grade somewhere, if I can find it. Oh, there it is. So you scored. Let's have a look. Third grade, according to this website, you scored 18 tries in 26 games for third grade. Is that right? And then 16 tries in 26 games for second grade.
Yep.
Does that sound about right?
That's about right. Yep.
Okay.
If I can put it in expression, I had somebody in the paper who was rooting for me. It was Ernie Christensen, one of the writers for the Telegraph in those days. He reckoned I should have been playing first grade instead of the blokes who were in there.
Yeah.
So he
Who was above you? In the Ian Moyer, obviously.
Johnny Graves.
Johnny Graves.
John Graves.
That's right. Yeah.
Johnny Graves. He was in front, and
I think he retired in 52.
He retired in 53.
50.
At the end of.
I think.
Yeah, I took his place in 54.
You just took his. Okay.
In 54.
Yeah,
that's
right.
So he finished it. He finished up there.
Well, fair enough that you were behind him then. Johnny Graves he was pretty good. Johnny Graves and Ian Moyer, those are two pretty good.
No, he was a funny man, John. He was really a funny man.
Yeah, right.
But if you go, I'll be honest, he gave me a great initiation to dig in there. I mean, but in a way, compared to probably today, I got first grade in 54. Now I was 23. To me, that on today's basis, 23 is old.
It is
to get to first grade. But unfortunately, when you had the sides that South Sydney had in those days, because they won the competition in 52, 3, I think it was, 4.
Yep.
And they won the whole. You can't replace blokes like that.
No. You can't change the premiership
They've got to
side.
retire.
Yeah.
Quite often somebody said to me, once you go get a mob to go and break his leg, then you'd be right. You'd be able to move up. But
could you only play wing? Could you play centre as well? Or
no, I always played in the wing.
Always
on the right wing.
Why was that?
It seemed to inherit me because I was right-handed, and it seemed to be that they decided I should play on the right wing all the time.
Yep.
And
why wing? Why wing?
Wing, just the fact I'm fast.
Yeah.
I was very, very fast. When I was in third grade with South, I was nominated by South to go in the sprint on the Sydney Cricket Ground at the end of the year, and I ran second.
In the
to Johnny Bliss, who was
Johnny Bliss. You can't beat Johnny Bliss.
Johnny Bliss. John won it. I ran second.
How? Because Johnny Bliss is regarded as one of the fastest rugby league players of all time.
Oh, he was fast.
Yeah.
I saw his heels.
Yeah. And then not too long after, Mike Cleary came along in South Sydney, right?
Yeah, he was.
And Ken Irvine.
It was a long time going through. Oh, Johnny Bliss and I think it was Manly he was playing for, or North Sydney. I'm not 100% sure, but I was fortunate enough that South thought I was fast enough to go into the sprint.
Oh, so how far off?
I got the standing total of £5.
Yeah, right.
For that.
£5.
£5. That was a fortune.
What's £5 today, like approximately?
$10.
But yeah, like today, like
on equivalent to the money.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it this way: when I was the basic wage, I've checked the basic wage in those days. When I was married in 1954, the basic wage was £5.10 and something or something like that.
Right,
and that's per week.
Per week.
Per week.
Oh, see, that's not a bad money for a race.
Yeah, when I think when I applied for a loan to build a house here that I'm currently sitting in, where we are at the present moment, I had to. I was getting £21 a week.
Yeah, right.
And I was a married man with £21 and one child at that stage.
Yeah.
And when I moved up here in '61. Maureen, my second daughter, she turned 3. She was celebrated the 3rd birthday up here.
Yep.
So that was it.
Yeah, right.
Seems a long time ago, but it is. It is a long time ago.
Very long time ago. Okay. All right. And how far off Johnny Bliss were you? Do you remember the race?
I was behind him, I'd say.
100 metres or 100 yards?
But the football field.
100 metres.
100 metres.
Yep.
It was 100 yards in those days.
Was it 100 yards?
Yeah, it was 100 yards.
Oh, okay.
At the football field.
Yeah, right.
And that's what it was. It was just like there was no, just hit the gun and away we went, and that was it. So, he beat me. I put it this way, I would have been at his heels when we went in behind him.
Yeah.
But you had to race in football gear.
Yeah, right.
You put your football gear in, your football boots and all. It's the sprints. And I often, there's a lot of comparisons going on at the present moment on the National Rugby League now as who's the fastest bloke in the day, and I think what's his name?
Addo Carr, yeah, he's the fastest. Tabuai, what's his name from North Queensland?
Yeah.
Amiso Tabuai Fidale, he's pretty quick. Have you seen him?
Yeah. Well, when the last year I was at school, I ran 10-1 for the 100.
10-1?
10-1
for 100 yards.
100 yards.
That's
quick. I was a bit quick.
That's very quick.
That's why they always say, "Give it a Les, give it a Les."
Yeah, right.
It was about the size of it.
Did you like go to the Australian Championships or anything? That would have been almost Australian Championships.
The year that I finally finished school, that was in 46.
So you were running 10-1 when you were 16?
Yeah, it would have been about.
And is that your fastest time, 10-1?
Yeah, that's the fastest I've ever run. Yeah. My father was approached by a professional runner with eyes on the Saul gift because of this, but then it was disclosed to him and to me that for the first 12 months you run dead.
What do you mean by that?
You run dead, you don't win to get a good handicap.
Oh, because okay, right.
And the question is, of course, the question raises when you think about it: if everybody's running dead, just to get a good handicap for the Saul gift, what's a race?
Point, yeah.
And you'll be running for 12 months, which comes at Easter time. You're going to be running for 12 months and have to pay you pay your own fees all around the country, all the country meetings and the whole lot. So that was it. And I'll be honest about it. We didn't have the finances to do it.
Yeah, right.
Left in the family. That was it. So I said no. I wouldn't. The old man said no, we can't do it. That's all there was to it.
Yeah.
And that was the size of it. But I was pleased because you see some of those races and you've got a bloke. They go down to the mark and there's a bloke about 7 metres up for the road. you think, I got to get past him. I know it's over 120. And that's about the size of it.
120, right?
120.
Okay.
But no, I was pleased I didn't have to do that. So that's actually how it worked out. And I was obviously seen playing in with the CYO games, and that was about the size of it.
Yeah.
And I knew I was a little bit fast, but I didn't think it was as fast as that. To be honest.
Sure.
Yeah. And,
wow. That's amazing.
I wouldn't do it today.
Yeah.
not the way I am.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
But,
and why were you so fast? Did you have you always just been fast? Did you train specifically for the 100 metres?
Before I went to Darlinghurst, I'd never even been in a runner race.
Yeah, wow.
No, never even. Just when you they suddenly found I was a bit fast when we were playing football at school. And that was about the size of it. And then the brothers stuck me on the wing because that was the idea: get out, let the ball get out as fast as the wings. And the old idea of what Jack Rayner's idea was, get out there. And that was it. And as the old saying, they said, give it a Les and it's all over. We'll wait for him to come back again. And that was it. But
wow.
I honestly, people have asked me how did you train for it? I said I didn't.
You just naturally fast.
Just naturally, just came.
Yeah, wow.
Oh. And my brother, I have a brother who's 90 this year, and he used to play centre for when we were playing the CYO.
Yep.
He always used to say, I gave you all the tries, remember that?
Yeah.
He'd made the break, give it to me, and I'd run down.
You just know when you can catch you.
No, it's just one of those things I just don't know. It must have been a natural ability, but to be honest, I hated training. I hated it all.
Why was that?
Too much. To me, it was a waste of time. When I was playing first grade with South, I was employed by the Department of Motor Transport, and we were down at the Quay, and South trained every Tuesday and Thursday night at 4:30. I didn't knock off till 4:30. I was perpetually late, and I was a non-contracted player, but I used to arrive up there about 4:45, and of course, as a result of that, I had to stay
half an hour
afterwards again. And I used to join Chicka Cowie. Chicka, when that man used to drive me mad. After training, he's run about 50 times around the oval, even after he finished training.
Yeah, right.
And I'd join in with him, and I was thinking, I'm not going to make it. And that was it. So that was basically what it was like in those days. You conditioned on, you run around and conditioned yourself on Tuesday nights, and then Thursday nights we went into moves and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that was about So that's all we trained, 2 nights a week.
Yeah. Did you do much contact training?
No.
No.
We never didn't touch each other. Not at all. Not at all. You're worried about getting hurt.
Yeah.
This is what amazes me when you see the boys warming up today on the football field beforehand. They are fair dinkum.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Well and truly.
So there's none of that when you were...
No.
What was your warm-up like?
To start, you run 3 times around Redfern Oval, and then you
That'd just get you tired.
Then the backs would go in one direction, the forwards would go in the other. Jack would take over on the backs. Clive Churchill would take the backs. Yep. And we'd run around and just general sprints and God knows what. Same as probably what they're doing today, 3 blokes run towards you, throw the ball, and you just keep going backwards and forwards. Mm-hmm. And then on, as I said, the forwards would train with themselves on the Tuesday night, and Thursday we'd all get together and run up against the reserves and just practice moves and all the rest like that. Yep. And if I can put it this way, the boys used to go to Jack Glasheen's pub after that was Thursday night, and I just headed home because I didn't drink. Yeah, right.
Why didn't you drink?
I've never liked it.
Yeah.
To be honest. I knew why I didn't smoke. My father was during the war. He was a very heavy smoker, and you couldn't get cigarettes, unfortunately. I think that's what browned me off. Even thinking about smoking. And no, I've never had one in my mouth in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. Yeah.
I was never so pleased when they banned smoking. Yeah, absolutely.
On the because you mean like on the fields and stuff?
No, I did in general.
Oh, like you mean inside?
Inside.
Yeah, I can't believe they used to smoke inside.
It's the smell of smoke that drives me. My dad used to roll 20 cigarettes. They all rolled their own those days. He rolled 20 cigarettes a night, and he smoked them by the morning. He's just a heavy smoker. That was it. Wow. And that's what browned me off. I said, I could not put up with that. Well and truly. But I was very. I often repeat this about when I first started the transport. There was about 5 blokes of my age. We all went in together, as the saying is, and none of us smoked and none of us drank. Mm. Why? I don't know. Mm. I've never been able to fathom that today. I've even asked a couple of them. There's still 2. Yeah, still 2 besides me still alive because we went together. We went with them after we were married. We sort of kept in touch with each other, and. I've often said, to them, why didn't you smoke? Don't know, got no reason. Didn't like it. But the consensus seemed to be the smell was enough to, cut you off. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, there was one of them, we probably got nothing to do with football. I laugh about this when we used to get our lunch at the quay. We used to go out, obviously, down the quay, you had nearly there from 8:30 to 4:30. Mm-hmm. Hour for lunch. You got nothing to do down there for an hour. You had to take an hour for lunch, and we used to go down to have sandwiches in the domain. Mm-hmm. And one of the blokes who turned out to be Kevin Considine's brother, I worked with him, and because Kevin was the bloke playing in Newtown, and Bruce was playing with us. He used to delight us, annoying us by having he used to always have sweets for lunch. He'd have his sweets first and his meal afterwards. Yeah, right. We could never work out why he always said he'd have his sweet first, he'd have a cake or something like that first, and then he'd eat a sandwich.
What are you doing?
Strange, very strange. But that runs in the family. I think Kevin was the same.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, it's good. I don't know if it's like it today, but you made friends in those days, and you kept them for life, basically. That was about the size of it.
Yeah, there you go.
And it works well.
Yep. If we can talk about maybe your parents and what you can remember of, your sort of your family over there. So what was your dad's name and your mum's name? And
my father's name was William Patrick Brennan.
Yeah, and maybe you can talk to me about what you were saying before about it as well.
Well, when the family tree, we traced the family tree right back to it, a long way back into the overseas, and you run into a bit of trouble when you get into the Irish area, because it's between the first century, from 1800s to the 1900s, there was 52 William Patrick Brennans. And we even got to the stage where, if you look at it very closely, they used to always name the second child after the father. And believe it or not, in a couple of occasions when that bloke's died, the next child is named the same.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. When you say your name was William Patrick, you say, oh, God, which one are you?
Yeah,
It could be any one of 52. But we traced the family, the Brennan family, back through into the colonies, and the one that stands in my mind, one of the aunties, she was transported for pinching a cloth, a sheaf of cloth,
from England, right?
which worked out to be, in those days, what was it, like a serviette, which the people put their food in, and she pinched one, and she got transported.
Jeez,
out for that.
That's a bit harsh.
I think it was about the time where the colony was running out of a population of females, and there were a lot of males. And at one stage there, I read in history that at one stage there they pinched all the, couldn't say pinched, but they directed all the women of younger age to be transported straight to the colonies.
Yep.
To promote, keep the families going out here.
Interesting.
And we could have been rich at one stage, because Moses, how could you get a Catholic family with the name of Moses? Moses Brennan was transported for a murder.
Wow. Yeah.
And when he got here, he'd been in the military in England, and when he arrived at the colony, they were running short of what they call, they've got special names for in those days, I can't remember what it was, but anyway, the military out here was police. I think they call them Tammies or Tannies, some name like that. Anyway, they decided to grant him a pardon and appoint him into the police force. And then he become a bit of a bastard after that, I believe. What's that old saying, authority goes to the head?
That's right, yeah, wow.
That was about it. But he was granted a block of land at Picton. But then later on, when the government started resuming land, somebody leaked that he was an ex-convict, so they took it off him.
Yeah, wow.
And that was about the size of it. Would have been nice to have had a block of land at Picton.
Yeah.
And when I say a block of land, a big block of land.
Right,
what they gave him in those days.
Yeah.
And that was about the size of it. On the other side...
was he... How was he related to? Was he your great-grandfather or your grandfather? Or?
Moses was my grandfather's... how can I put this one? Well, I've got to really think about this. My father, grandfather Brennan, and he had 3 sons, and those sons had a son. So he was one of those. So he's the third uncle. Right,
okay.
Back. That was the size of it.
Yeah.
And look, it resurrected in the family this idea of naming people after people. I think I'll repeat what I told you earlier. My uncle, Barry, he was only 21. He and a few of his mates went down to Lane Cove. Not Lane Cove. The National Park.
Yep.
National Park. They had, after hours, they had a couple of boats out. The boats, as was mentioned in the autopsy room at not the autopsy room, the coroner's room, that they were slightly or more than slightly inebriated. and the two of them had boats, and they're buggerising around down there. One of the boats turned over, and my uncle, Ern, he was under the boat, and they couldn't get him. He didn't come up, he stayed under the boat. So one of the couple of them couldn't find him, so one bloke ran all the way from the national park to Sutherland. They would alert the police in those days, and by the time they got a horse and buggy or what to get out there, they found he was underneath the boat, and had he have stood up, he wouldn't have drowned because it was only up to his waist. That's the funny part about it. And that was mentioned in the area. Now, as a result of that, it seemed to be that pattern in the Brennan family. When my brother was born, my first brother, Ern, they named him Ernest Ainsworth, the same as the bloke who died. He died in 21, and Ern was born in 22, and when Ern was born, my father named him Ernest Ainsworth Brennan.
Yeah, right.
What a name, Ainsworth.
Ainsworth.
Well, it's a family name.
Yeah, right.
My sister's second name was Hepzibah.
Oh, Hepzibah.
Hepzibah. My other sister's name was Vartry Veronica, which is Giddy Vest. And my brother, the one who's 90 this year, he was named William Patrick.
Yep.
After my father.
There you go.
And by the time they got to me, there was nobody left, so they named me Leslie.
There you go.
And I also mentioned that Leslie Albert was my name because we did have one of the uncles was named Albert.
Yep.
And he was living in Darlinghurst at that particular stage, so I cottoned that on the end of that. But the funny part about it was when I went to be baptised at the church, the old priest said, "There's no St. Leslie, there is no St. Albert."
You can't do that.
So they gave me Patrick.
Yeah, right.
Guess, Patrick. And I thought, I was lucky that I didn't get William. And that was it. So the whole lot of, that's about the size. And they all ran out after that, but there was nobody left to be born, basically in the family. My father was the, Uncle Cecil went to the war, and he was the youngest, and then Dad came in there. And then there was only the two, there was Jack, Cecil and Bill, William, but for some reason they wanted to be known as William. Never wanted to be known as Bill. I'm not going to argue about that, but it's one of those strange things. And there were 3 daughters also, and so he was in a family of 6, and that was it.
Yeah.
And we all lived in Chippendale, and then but from there that's how it went, and we always made a joke between Bill and myself. I called him Bill, everybody else calls him William, but I refused to call him William. I think it's too elitist as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
And he never named any of his children the family names, and I didn't know with mine at all. That was what the decision was. We've got to get away from this family tradition of naming it now. I mean, it's terrible when you really think about it. You're going back through that family tree, and we traced at one stage there was a William Patrick Joseph, a William Joseph Patrick, a Joseph William Patrick, and a William Joseph. William Patrick Joseph.
Around.
Just moving the name around.
Just moving around.
And
Not very creative.
And you got to the stage where you're following the tree, and you run into a William Patrick, and you think, "Oh, which one's he?"
Yeah.
And you got to mind to work out where the hell did he come from, or where we are. And no, it was very strange things, but I don't think they are the idea. I reckon when they were doing the trees all together, they must have run into a hell of a lot of problem with that vintage of people in the old days where they renamed their child. Yeah, although in blunt terms, I was the second last born in the family. There was me and Mary, Marjorie, Bill or William.
Yep.
Across me, and then I was born in 31, and I had a baby brother born in 33.
Yeah, I don't think I got your birthday on this either. So what was your birthday? The 14th of April or?
Yes, well, mine was the 18th of April.
18th of April.
18th of April.
April.
And I another child after me, and bearing in mind this was right in the middle of the Great Depression.
Yep.
And he only lasted 3 weeks. The usual case, so I was never able to find out what it is because death certificates didn't cover anything in those days.
Yeah.
And
So that was who was that?
A younger brother.
Your younger brother.
And
when was he? What was his?
Guess what? His name was Cecil.
Cecil, there you go.
Because Dad's brother was Cecil.
Yeah. There you go.
I couldn't believe it. And, he was allegedly what do you call it, pneumonia. I think that was
3 months old.
Those days was all it was. He was only 3 weeks old.
3 weeks old, wow. And what year was that?
33.
33, okay.
33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been, yeah. Did your parents talk much about Cecil, or that would have been hard?
No.
Yeah.
No. The difference between my father was much older than my mother, like it was in those days. And there was a big difference in age in those days. The older men always married the younger girls. And that was another thing that made my mind up. Margaret was born in 32 and I was born in 31. So I said,
yeah.
You're not going to be. I'm not going to go and get a chicken.
That's right. Yeah.
I want somebody my age.
Fair enough. Yeah.
There you go. We had a little trouble trying to do Margaret's line because her father was one of 13.
Wow.
I thought you'd say that. One of 13 children.
Yeah.
And the father died when he was 43.
Yeah.
So imagine what happened in those days.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Grandma, she looked after the whole lot of them.
Yeah.
And do
you remember Margaret's parents' names?
Family name, Jewel. Yeah,
and their first names as well?
Margaret was her name, and Margaret's mother was Margaret. Mary.
Mary.
And
Mary Jewel.
And her father was always known as Stumpy.
Stumpy.
He was only that big. he was an ex-jockey.
Wow.
He used to ride the ponies at I can't think where South Sydney Hospital is at the present moment. Out there was a track out there. He used to, I think he used to get £1 for a ride.
Yeah, wow.
£1. That's it.
Was he any good, or?
Well, he did, but eventually he had too many damn falls.
Yeah.
And things like that. So they had to, the grounds were rough and things like that. He eventually had that many falls. He just had to retire, and that's it.
Yeah.
So he just did what mostly everybody else did. They went and got a job in a factory. That's it. My father, in the Great Depression, he went 8 years without a job.
Wow.
He was unemployed for 8 years.
That's crazy. How did you guys get fed?
He used to be a cooper. I don't know if you know
What's
what they
that?
are. They used to make the barrels for the beer and the wine.
Okay.
And they used to curve the wood.
Yep.
And then they heat the irons up, slip them in, and that was it. And then the pre-runner, I suppose, to the aluminium ones coming in. And by the time that the Great Depression was over, of course they all got kicked out. The breweries didn't have anybody working in them like those days, and he never went back to it. There was just no room for him to come back. So he became a labourer in the Sydney County Council. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
But there was 8 years where he didn't have a job.
Didn't have a job.
So your mother had a job at the time?
Mum used to look after us all in those days. So she did cooking, washing clothes and things like that.
Did she have a job as well, or?
No.
How did you get money to buy food?
I often think that myself because I don't know why. My brother can't understand this. I cannot remember back past year 3.
Right.
And I don't know if there's many people today who remember what they were doing 3 years of age. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't for the life of me think of what I was doing 3 years of age, which brought it up to 1934.
Do you think that was maybe the head knocks when you were playing rugby league, or?
Oh no, I was only a baby. No, I was born in 31.
Yeah. No, but why you can't remember before that?
Oh no, I have not been able really to get an answer for what happened to me in the grand final of '54. The first half is as plain as anything to me, well and truly, and I can remember part of the second half. But then it's a complete blank.
Yeah.
Till I woke up the next morning at Coolangatta, and Margaret said, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why wouldn't I be feeling good?" She said, "You got hurt yesterday." I said, "Did I?" I said, we're back at Coolangatta. I can still remember that. I said, we're back at Coolangatta. She said, yeah. How did we get here? Don't you remember? Well, that was fun.
How did you... Can you say the whole story? Because I think this would be a great little thing, like a snippet I can put up on like the page or something, like the whole story. Because this is my favourite story. But actually, maybe we can tell a little bit later, if that's all right. Because we'll talk about your career, and then we'll lead up to the grand final, and then you can, because that's a very important. I want to get that the grand final story.
Yeah.
I want like full detail and stuff like that. But yeah, for now, maybe just focus on the family stuff, if that's all right.
That's okay.
Yeah, sweet. But I want to get to the grand final story.
You want to get to the grand Okay. Well, my father, because of the fact that of the Depression, he was obviously, it was a bit of a mania with him, you have to have a government job. Because government jobs, they don't get rid of you and do the work. So I always think that when I went to, what actually happened in 47, when I left school to go to work.
What did you do for work again?
I'm sorry?
What did you do for work again, like your first job?
First job, I was motor transport. And I 47, I left school, went straight to the motor transport. My brother worked for Ernie, he worked for the motor transport. The reason why there was such an intake in those days was the fact that when the war was on, the boys were all told their jobs were protected, and when they come back from the war, the job would be there through the motor transport. So what they did, the war finished in 45. In 46, they left it open, and all the jobs the boys had to return on 46, and what actually happened, quite a lot of them died, of course, obviously got killed in the war, and quite a lot of them didn't come back and want to come back to work.
Yep.
So at the end of 1946, they then had worked out, I think there was something like about 100 or more jobs had to be filled to bring up the staff, and they just advertised them. I left school at the 16th of December, and I was employed on the 17th of December.
Yeah, wow.
They were just there waiting,
no
matter what. That's how short they were for work, and most of the blokes that I befriended, I'll put it that way, they come in January 48, and that's the reason why there was such an influx of young blokes about that time just leaving school, and we were all the same age at that particular stage, and we all left school, we all had all different schools around Sydney, and we all became friends, and we stayed for a long, long time. And I stayed at the one job till 1990.
Wow. What exactly were you doing? Like,
put it this way, my best subject was maths. When I passed the I didn't go on to leaving certificate. I did the intermediate in 46, and then I left in 47, and because the jobs are available. So I decided to get out, and I got a very good pass in maths, and as it panned out, I was discussing this yesterday with one of my granddaughters. In the old days, when we started working the transport, was the motor transport looked after all the motor registrations and all the licences like they do today, but they were all card systems. So you had to they used to bundle up, once the people renew their licence or their registration, they got into a bundle, they put a couple of staples through it. You had to go around, pull the card out, put a marker in, record it's been paid, put a date stamp on it. 6 months later, you're still doing the same thing, and you think, I don't like this bloody job. And that was it. And then somebody found out that I was good at maths, and so because of that, they took me off that job and gave me a job of writing. When people changed their address, pull the card out, change the address on it, and put it back in the box. And the bloke who became my main boss, we called, was such a nice bloke, and we all called him Mr. So-and-so. Found out he was only 2 years older than me. We called him Mr. Yeah. But that's what it was in those days.
Yeah.
So anyway, what actually happened there, I got put onto the road because my writing was quite good. It isn't today, I'll tell you that now.
Oh, you get your sign. This looks pretty good. Where's Brennan? I can make it out.
Well, what actually happened there was one day that in the section, the payroll section belonged to the staff branch in those days. Was broken into branches, and somebody hadn't turned up for work, so they yelled out, anybody good at maths, just like that. My boss said, him. Put me over there, and in 1990, I was still in payroll, but I was in charge.
Yeah.
Roughly. Out of the 42 years I stayed there, I reckon up to that particular stage I was backwards and forwards in the section until I became permanent, and I think I spent about 32, 33 years in payroll, and that was it.
Yeah. Did you like it, or...?
Well, after a while, I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
That was about the size of it. But it became a manual thing. It was all manual, and what you used to have to a lot of additions, and you didn't you weren't permitted to use a calculator or anything like that in those days, or an adding machine, whatever they were. And I was churning out, I'm not blowing my trumpet, but I was churning out about 3 times more than anybody else.
Oh, very nice.
Because I could add sideways and I could add up and down. And what it was, you had 20 people on a sheet, and then you had to work out their pay, add up all their deductions, which was, even in those days, which was hospital fees and incidentals, union fees and like that. And because, as you can imagine, once you've done it all across, you add up all that, and what's down there's got to go in that corner. And when you add this one across, they have to agree. Quite a lot of them weren't. So that was my job.
Yep.
To check out and make sure why they didn't do it. I started, and after a while, I didn't need it. I wouldn't even think about an adding machine because I was doing it faster.
Yeah.
One of the old principal timekeeper, he showed me the theory of the add by tens. It still works today.
What is it?
Well, when you're adding up, the first thing you do is keep your eyes on what's going on, and you'll see 2 things get add to 10. So you've got 10 for those 2, and you bypass those. And if you got 2, 1 10 and 1 for 1, you forget the 1 and continue on till you get a 10, and then you drop back to it. And it remains in your mind, but you've got to add to that or take that one off again. And it's amazing how fast you can add up to, and that works away.
You still do like maths problems and stuff now, or?
Oh yeah, I enjoy myself. I hate crossword puzzles or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
Sudoku?
No, I don't have any trouble adding up at all. It's still stuck with me today.
Oh, great.
You know, well, I tell you, a couple of times Margaret said to me, "Can you add this up for me?" I said, "Okay," and just give me that. And I just go throw it back, and she said, "It's done." I said, "It's done." I said, no, it's just something you don't sort of lose the tip. But today, I mean, we eventually got onto a computerised payroll, and I had to do that. I had to do that for the department, and when we got a computerised program in, and after a while, you found yourself just dropping off just that little bit, and because you're not adding, you're not doing it all the time, and that was the way it was. But I walked out after 42 years, and that was about the size of it. And,
did you retire, or did you go to another job?
We were actually retrenched.
Because
in 1990 the government decided to transfer all the work from the Department of Motor Transport to the main roads. And we went through, they amalgamated all, and they got rid of the usual case by amalgamation. They could get rid of about a couple of hundred jobs from me. We had about 2,800 on the payroll, and they got rid of about a couple of hundred of girls who were retrenched and boys were retrenched in there. So, of course, when we were transferred basically to the DMR, payroll section wasn't widening because we had to go on their payroll. And we were given 12 months on extra go, and then retrenched after 12 months. And that was the size of it. So it's a long time back, 1990 now.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
Did you work after that, or?
No.
No,
there was no work for anybody my age in those days. I turned 60 in the 91.
Yeah.
So everybody those days there was very little amount of work for anybody over 60. You know, particularly in payroll area, because by then most of all that work's been done by computers. That was the size of it.
There you go.
So I became a man of substance sitting at home.
Yeah.
Put all my deeds into this.
Yeah, in the lawn.
Into the lawns and everything else. But they were well and surely finished by then.
Yeah.
And that was about the size of it. But I basically I did. Is that getting too cold for you?
No.
I'm just going to say, if anything, we'll whip it close.
No, thanks, sir.
What's I going to say about this? Today, I can't think of what I was going to say to you, but talking about. Yeah. It'll come.
That's right.
It'll come.
I want to know a little bit more about your parents, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So, who were they? What did they do? What was your relationship like with them?
My father, he was 10 years older than my mother, and
what year was he born in? Do you know?
He was 1891.
Yeah.
And Mum was born in 1901.
Yep.
And what's that? 20 years.
That's 1891.
No.
1901. That's 10 years.
10.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And she was.
So he had you when your mum was 30 and your dad was 40. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. We all they lived in Waterloo, or I think it was known as Settling in those days. I'm not 100% sure. Then we moved into when I say I don't remember this because they moved in before I was born. They moved in with my father's mother in Chippendale, and when the kids were born, as we went like that. I'd Ernie born in 22, Murray was born in 23, Marge was born in 24, Bill was working at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, like that. And then there's a stretch to me.
Yeah. And then your Cecil as well.
And then Cecil was born after that,
yeah.
You know. And we moved into another building, another house in Abercrombie Street, Chippendale. And for that was where we went all finished up. And Ern went off to the war in 39. He signed up. He put his. I always wondered how the hell he did it. He put his age up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put his age up in 39 as soon as war was breaking out.
What was he? 48? No, 46.
The war broke out in 39.
Yeah.
39, and Ern was.
So he would have been 40.
17. He was just 17 then.
Oh, so your brother.
Your brother.
Ah, sorry. I thought you said your dad. I was like,
no,
well,
no,
48.
He ended up when the war was on. He was because he worked in the Sydney County Council as a labourer back in those days. That's the job he had after the war broke out, and the end of the depression came up. He got a job like that. He used to. He was a labourer, but he used to, on this council in those days, used to do all the poles and wires, and they used to bring a trailer out, park it in the middle of the allotment, where the nearest allotment close to where the work was, and then he was become a watchman over the weekend to watch, because nobody worked on Saturdays and Sundays in those days. They were doing the lights.
Yeah.
And he was required to go out there and sit there all Saturday, Friday night, Saturday night and Sunday night, and then come home and then have a day off to go back to work. So basically he was given a day off for 3 days' work.
Yeah.
And Bill and I used to go out with him, and we used to sit there and try to stay awake up till 12 o'clock, and then collapse, and that was it.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have somebody watching, like in the old days, they just take everything. They take the tyres off the trucks and everything else like that. And that was it. That's how we remember our days. And because when the war broke out, they made him a warden, National Emergency Service warden, which was like with a tin hat running around at night time, keeping an eye on, because the blackouts, the brownouts or the blackouts, whatever you like to call them. We lived in Chippendale, and all the factories were around those areas, and the wool stores and what the way. So we have to prowl around all night. The ridiculous part was back to work the next morning.
Yep.
And try and stay awake.
Oh wow.
Completely, and he was, and also an air raid warning in the other one. In addition to a National Emergency Service warden, the National Service warden bloke was the bloke who was running around just keeping check. The air raid warden was the bloke who used to have the stirrup pump.
Oh no!
Which pumped them, and when the incendiary bombs or anything come over, bang, like that.
Yeah.
And I often think about that because, you know, when I broke my leg in 1942, I broke my leg playing touch football in the schoolyard.
Touch footy.
And that meant pick the bloke up and drive him into the ground.
Oh, jeez.
And I broke my right leg in 7 places.
Oh, no.
I'll never forget that. My brother had to put me, the Morris brother, he put me on his back and took me out of my mother and just put me and said, I think Les's leg's broken. I spent a month and a half in Sydney Hospital.
Oh, wow.
And I was in Sydney Hospital when the Japanese bombed shelled Rose Bay.
Yeah, wow.
And I was in there when the plane flew over Sydney, plotting the ground. That was a funny part about that. The plane flew over and my 2 sisters and their boyfriends were in the middle of the Harbour Bridge.
Wow. When
the air alarms went off.
Yeah.
And
the what alarms?
In the middle of the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Jeez.
But that'd be a prime target. That's
that's crazy.
That's what the shells, as it panned out, that's why the reason that they shelled after the failed attempt at in Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
They shelled Rose Bay and all the shells dropped short. And they were after the bridge, as it panned out. It's very interesting reading when you delve into it.
Yeah.
It was a classic case of the worst comedy of the year.
No.
When you really read about it,
Yeah.
the full report of what actually happened. And then they moved up to Newcastle, the subs moved over to Newcastle, and they tried to hit the steelworks at Newcastle. None of the shells exploded up there either.
Yeah, right.
So it was a complete loss. It was unbelievable to read this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't any fun, I don't mind. I can remember laying I was in a bed. Well, you've probably seen people in those days, they used to hook them up and have the leg off on the ground, and they had the weights on the at the end, just holding the leg straight so it would knit perfectly. See, and all the nurses had to put what do you call it, mattresses around us just in case the hospital got hit.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
a pretty exciting time. Now, when I think about it, it wasn't in those days. But I missed about 3 months of schooling. So I had to go repeat.
Yeah.
Before I went up to Darlinghurst, and that was it.
Yeah.
And people say to me, why were you able to run when you had a leg broken in 7 places?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got no idea.
Yeah.
I'd never believed it until I found at a later date it was correct. I was able to get a copy of the records from Sydney Hospital about it. My mother got it actually. She showed it to me. And I was thinking, that might have made me a bit testy, I think.
Yeah.
And good to do it.
Yeah.
But my mother, I can remember things about her. She did a lot of work at the local church and the Morris brothers, and down at which we had a section of them in St Benedict's. That was a technical school, and I would bluntly, if I'd had my time over, I'd have gone to the technical school rather than go to the high school, because I had to do French and English.
Yeah.
French and Latin.
Latin. Latin's a bit of a waste of time. Jeez.
I was not real good at that. But,
no.
And thank God for maths. That got me out of the trouble. And that was about the size of it.
Yeah.
But she did a lot of work for Roundabout, and I know she did a lot of washing and things like that. But we survived.
Yeah.
Well and truly.
Yeah. And what kind of a person was your mother?
My mother, if I described her as an angel, absolutely, she was.
Yep.
Quiet, nothing fazed her.
Yep.
She brought 6 kids up.
Yep.
And that was it. And she was an angel, absolutely.
So, how about your father?
Well, I've got to say, my father was not a nice person.
Yeah.
And he would have suffered pretty badly in today's conditions.
Yeah.
He unfortunately, I think what actually happened to him was the fact that being out of work for so long, when he finally got work, he got the taste of the grog.
Yeah.
That's what may have been the reason why I didn't touch it, I think. I'm pretty sure of it. I know the cigarettes was a problem.
Yeah.
But he used to have his day out on Saturdays, and that was about the size of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I I do feel sorry for him. I can understand if he'd been out of work for 8 years.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a brass racer to your name. That was about size, but, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason. But my mother tolerated things were all good. But
Sure.
take away Saturdays in the Brennan family, and it was good time. It was had by all. That was about size of it.
And when did they pass away?
Dad passed away in 1968. We came here in 61. Yeah, that was early in that 64. I remember the police came to the door because there were no phones in those days in the houses. They come to the door and just advised me that, just advised Mrs. Brennan asked me to let you know that your father has passed away that night. And that was it.
Yeah.
So it was about decisive. Then Mum, she lived till she was 83 before she went. She died in one of the hospitals in Mayflower Village nursing homes down in Wentworthville.
Yeah.
At that time.
That was 1984?
84.
84?
84.
Was she born in 1901, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, sweet.
That was right.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And were you close at all with any of your other relatives? Like, obviously your brothers and sisters, but like your aunties or your uncles or grandparents. Did you meet your grandparents?
It's a very strange arrangement in that family. In my father's side, nobody talked to anybody.
Okay.
Nobody. My father only ever visited one of his brothers. That was Jack, the bloke who lived at King's Cross. Not King's Cross, Railways. I'll get in a minute. Near the courts on top of Oxford Street.
Okay.
Taylor Square.
I don't know.
Taylor Square. He lived one of the side streets up there, and he was the only person my father went to see.
Interesting.
And his brother Cecil and his wife and his two sisters lived in the street behind us in Abercrombie Street. They lived in there, but he never went near them. So there was obviously problems in the family, I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But Bill and I and our sisters, not daughters, sisters, used to go down. And we'd say hello to them and get to know them. And it was one of those strange things. These family feuds, I think, happen, and that's the size of it.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But that was about it. But
there you
go. My mum was come from a large family too. She. In her family, there were 2 lots of triplets and 2 lots of twins born. And we've been waiting.
Wow.
Waiting.
2 lots of triplets
and waiting to see when, because they say eventually it comes back in the family.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. And that's what all my granddaughters are saying. I hope it's not me.
Yeah. Imagine having triplets. Jeez.
I mean there's 9 of them. I've got 7 granddaughters, and I've got 2 grandsons, and all told, I've got 13 great-grandchildren, and they were worried about, the girls were particularly worried about, it's going to reflect who's going to be the one to get it to arrive, And so far, no good. And I don't think there's any chance of it because I think they're already, most of them are in their late 20s, early 30s now, the whole lot of them. So I think their days of having a family are gone.
Yep.
So I think it has bypassed the Brennan family completely.
That's great.
Oh,
there you go.
It's damn strange.
And you were telling me before about your father potentially playing first grade for South Sydney, but they haven't got it on record.
I haven't been able to prove it at the present moment. Michael Curran's been into it. We have a photo, and it's definitely the South Sydney colours.
Yeah. And
it's typical of the photos taken at that time. And I've suggested that perhaps it might have been because in those days, the best we could come up with was the fact that, remember I told you about that situation about I lived in the middle of three different Balmain, Newtown and Eastern Suburbs. And Glebe was a team in those days.
Yeah, the Dirty Reds.
Which played in the Balmain area.
Yep.
And they with no colours on the photos, of course, in those days, you had a bars jumper like that too. And I was wondering whether he was in that.
So he never spoke about it?
Well, I didn't see too much of him, basically talking about things like that. He was more interested in me playing.
Yeah.
We could never get him into a conversation, but he wanted one of his sons to play football with South.
Yeah.
So that's why we feel that it had to be South Sydney.
Yeah.
Which was the same colour scheme, because they had the original bars. They were very distinct in those days. It's the even green and the even red, and we tried to work out. I found out that what do you call it? Glebe's colours were a maroon and a white, or a maroon and brown. I can't really remember what. Trying to find. Could have been that one of those jumpers. So I got no idea, but he hasn't turned up in any of the records, and because my brother said perhaps he didn't want to be made known that he was playing. He might have used a fictitious name.
Interesting.
A different name. To play in a different area.
Yeah.
He might have been playing in Balmain, but wasn't residentially qualified for Balmain, so that he played in South Sydney.
Wow.
That's possible,
Yeah.
That's one of those damn things.
Yeah.
Michael's had a look for me, but he hasn't been able to establish anything at all.
Well, yeah. If you're playing on a different name,
if that photo had been coloured, we'd have 50% chance of working out, where it was.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Ah.
So I think I've told you that there was a couple of blokes playing when I played with South, was residentially qualified. I know who they were, but they weren't the blokes who were playing. That's it. That's the way it is.
First grade or?
In first grade, yeah.
Like,
but then in 55 it didn't matter. They changed the rules.
Yeah.
And they changed that residential qualification out. Got rid of it.
Did you want to say that on camera or not? The names or no? Would you rather not?
No.
You don't have to.
Perhaps not.
Okay, that's fair enough.
It would have been very easy to probably work it out, but perhaps not. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I know they went on to bigger and better things.
But there were people playing for South Sydney in 54 that were not.
No, not at 54. They were there before 54. Was when I was playing third and reserve grade.
Oh, okay, and they were playing first grade.
Their photos in the paper, and you knew straight away who they were.
Yeah.
And then later on, I found they didn't. They used to come to training from. They're going to put it across the bay.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That was about the size of it.
That's crazy.
It's one of those things. But I think if it was happening with South, it'd be happening all over the place.
Oh, you'd have to think so.
That residential qualification was a joke.
Yeah.
Absolutely, even in those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, what were the people's names that they were playing under? Were those people living in South Sydney area? Is that why they chose those names?
No, I would.
Why did they? If this guy's name's John Brown, why would he choose to play under a certain name?
I put it down. Put it down. Probably the problem that I was striking in third and reserve grade. The bloke whose job I wanted, they couldn't drop him, and they would. And I was advised by a couple of people, get away from South and you'll get made first grade in any other competition, in any other side.
That sounds like
but
it.
I said, no, I want to play with South.
Yeah.
Because my father wanted me to play for South. That's all I was doing. So I played for, I'm saying I was a 61, 62, 63. 53. 51, 51, 2, 3. I played in the minor grades.
Yeah, and then
And then I got
scored
promoted
29
to reserve
tries.
grade, and I got into first grade. And that was it. And I thought I was made, but it didn't turn out to be.
Yeah. There you go.
And today I say, there's a song of years ago, they used to say, don't put your daughter on the stage, Mrs. Worthington. Now my answer today is, don't put your son playing football. Because I know this has reflected on me for a long time.
Yeah.
It's been there since 1954.
Yeah.
And I think I got out of it lightly. Think of some of these blokes today has had Vet 5 knee reconstructions and everything they're doing today.
Yeah, and people like...
What's they going to be like with arthritis by the time they're about 50 or 60?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
People like Ray Price are coming out now and saying, they've got head issues because of all the knocks they've had during the days,
That's right.
So, yeah, far out.
Anyway, I was fortunate, I'll say that about it. I mean, I was fortunate that I was able to retire gracefully. I retired thinking that it was my boils which were the problem. As it panned out, it wasn't the boils, it was the back. And when you read my report of what I have been going over the years, exactly what's wrong with it, that's what my problem is at the present moment. I've got osteoporosis in it. And Yvette said to me, that's my doctor, she said, make sure you don't ever fall, because if you break it...
And that's still from 1954, is that right? Is that still from 1954?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. All right.
Well,
here we go.
Got one there. Light enough to read it?
Oh, yeah. Lumbosacral spine. CT lumbo... Is that how you... What is it?
And then your number them as you come down. It's every one from the waist down.
Yeah, right. There is a broad... Is this all your diagnosis, or...?
That's my diagnosis for my back at the present moment.
Yeah, right.
My
multi-level degenerate spine ++ with multi-level canal and foraminal... That's a lot of hard words in here. Stenosis.
It's all basically the same, and it goes from the L1 right down to the L7. And the big problem is the cockledge is the one you sit on, with that bone, that mucky bone.
Yeah.
There's nothing. The spine has gone straight through one into the other, and that those two bones are rubbing on each other.
Yeah, wow.
And they can't get... What they've been trying to do is get the... like gel, I suppose you call it, in between the discs. So they, instead of being in the middle there, they're touching like that. They're trying to get a force in there so that we go, well, when I walk around, it just feels like I'm grating. The two of them are grating against each other. And about a week or so ago, I got out of bed one morning, I heard this crack, and I thought, oh God, I think I've done it, because they said to me, don't break one of them, because you won't do any good.
Mm.
And I saw an Indian doctor down in what do you call it, Lidcombe one day, and he wanted to put a bar down my back.
Oh.
a metal bar.
Yeah.
And what they do, this is what they reckon they do in India, make those bones, but put screws into it and pull them together.
Yeah, right.
But the problem is, if you've got osteoporosis in it, you won't get screws to go in it, because they'll just disintegrate and there's nothing. So as a result of that, you then lost the entire use of that, and you're going to go, so no, you don't have it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that all the time along. They've been trying to get me to go and have an operation.
Yeah, wow.
I got close to it one day. I went to the Royal North Shore, and Dr. Yeo, the old oak, the currently best specialist there is in spinal problems, and I'm fortunate enough that I was very lucky. I went in on the Wednesday, and the following Tuesday was Melbourne Cup Day.
Yeah.
They took me home because all the doctors wanted to go to the Melbourne Cup. It wasn't urgent. It couldn't be. And my own doctor saw me walking around on the Saturday morning, and he got Margaret to bring me into the surgery, and he said, he doesn't need an operation at this stage. He said, he's walking too well. Something's all good there, so they cancelled the operation. And what really did worry me was the fact that in the transport years ago, at the motor registry at Albury, one of the girls asked one of the boys to move a typewriter for him from one table to another. He did, and there was a crack, and he couldn't put the typewriter down.
Oh no!
And they examined. He went into a wheelchair for life.
Oh,
he broke the main bone in his spine.
Oh.
And they can't rectify it.
That's terrible.
So thereafter, the words went out to the DMT. Nobody was to move typewriters at all.
Yeah.
If a girl wanted a typewriter, don't bring the typewriter to her. She goes to the typewriter.
Yeah.
And they're on in, and that's it.
Yeah, wow.
And after a while we did it, I walked around with a woman's corset on my back, for about 4 years, 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
My boss bought me a special chair
Yeah.
to sit in when the payroll there, and I just put one of those ones with, pump it up and got there and push me back and go like that. No, it's all right for about 2 hours. Oh, bloody hell, after that.
Yeah.
It's a long way, so get out and go for walks around the block. You know.
Yeah.
No, I was very, very fortunate about it. I'll be honest, okay, I did this in 1954. I'm still walking around today. I could be in a wheelchair, it could be in something like that.
Yeah.
And that's my horror of going to a nursing home or something like that.
Yeah.
I stay here as long as I can.
Yep.
And that's it. And I'll put up with it. I had a horror of taking. When Margaret had, got pills after pills after pills when she was in hospital, but. I just, looking at all the pills she's been taking, I said to our own doctor, I said, I'm not taking pills. I'd rather put up with a bit of pain.
Yeah, sure.
You're going to become addicted to them. I think she was at that particular stage. Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, that's the way the cookie crumbles, mate.
Yeah, right.
And that's it. I'm happy.
Yeah. So when did you meet Margaret? When did you said before, I think?
1950.
1950? Whereabouts?
Mascot.
What were you doing?
I got to CYO. What the function? It was basically people had a wrong impression about the CYO. It's a Catholic youth organisation, but what it was designed to do was all the people who went to school together at the churches, in the church school, right? Instead of dispersing after they'd finished school and everybody, they kept them together as a party. And then what they did was they used to meet every month, and sometimes and they used to have a dance every 2 months. But then the night the dance was on, that didn't take the place of the meeting. And as a result of that, we got to the stage with about 40 girls and boys out there. Just have picnics, go over to Gunnamatta Bay and get the ferry over from Gunnamatta Bay and go out there. We used to have picnics and days on sporting days down on the beaches. And Stanwell Park was one of the popular places because nobody used to go down there in those days. We'll go to Stanwell Park and have a beano. It more or less kept them together, and there was very little grog going on. And this is what what the idea was to do this. Now there wasn't one in my parish at St Benedict's on Broadway. That's why I went over to Forest Lodge, because I joined that one. But when this football team got dissolved because of somebody doing the wrong thing, and the coach and the players hadn't even do anything about it, I couldn't believe that. And I went out to Mascot, and because one of the blokes I went to school with, he lived at Mascot, and he got in touch with me. He said, "Listen, the Forest Lodge is closed, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Come out to Mascot." He said, "There's nothing at St Ben's." So I said, "All right." So I went out there anyway. People find this hard to believe, but I walked in February. I went to the meeting. She was there, and I was here. And I looked at her and I said, I couldn't believe it. I married her.
Yeah, well.
She was the only girl I ever went out with.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things.
Oh, that's lovely.
She looked at me and I looked at her, and we had a 25th reunion of the Mascot CYO down at the hall at Botany, Mascot, Town Hall, and we had a picnic get together down there, and it was about the time that song was coming around. I just rung to say I love you, and that was popular. That gives a rough idea when it was. Anyway, we all adjourned, and we made into a picnic area, a picnic day down at the church and the surrounding grounds. And then one of Margaret's bridesmaids came up to me and said, "They're still together?" I said, "Oh, bloody oath, we're still together." She said, "Yeah." And she said, "I knew it." She said, "What?" She said, "You walked in February?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "The next meeting," she went round and told all the girls, "Leave him alone, he's mine." She said, "I'm going to marry him."
Yeah.
She did.
There you go.
And there was no argument with me. We just hit it off, and that was it.
Oh, that's great.
And we were engaged for 4 years, and then we went together for 4 years. And we got engaged in what was that year before we got married? 53. We got engaged 53 and got married in 54. And that was about the size of it. And the funny part about it was, even today, there's still about 5 of those couples who married from the Seaway are still married. You know, they're there. I mean, it would have been 55 years this year for me with her. We got to 59. And 66, what am I saying, 59, 66? And so, easy to remember because 54 was when I got married. That's when I make the record. So
Yeah.
and I was married the week before I played the grand final.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that was the other shocker in that one because they designated you played 1, played 3, 2 played 4.
Yeah.
If you got beaten, as minor.
One played 3, 2 played 4.
1 played 3, 2 played 4.
Really?
Yeah, they broke it up that way. So and then,
Why would they just go 1 played 4, 2 played 3?
The two sides which could have won the competition. Newtown was 1, we were 2, and I'm trying to think of the others were.
I could look it up if you like.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
and we played Newtown, and Newtown went straight to the grand final, and we had to come through the preliminary final, and as a result of that, and as it panned out, had we have lost, it would have clashed with my wedding because I think I told you my Margaret's grandmother. Her daughter married a Yank in 46 after the war, and now we've got up to 54, and she was going to America. It's the first time she's seen Gwen and her children, so she decided now she was going on the Orion, which was the boat, which takes 5 weeks to get there, and you have to book 12 months in advance to get on the boat, and they booked for that too. So the point was, we worked it out that if we won, it's all over, but if we got beaten, we'd go to the grand. If we won it, we'd go to the grand final. And if we lost it, we had to go through the preliminary final. So we set it for the week in between, which was, and by the way, it's a very famous day, the day we got married. The Americans call it 9/11.
Ah.
We got married on the 11th of September.
Yeah.
And we set the wedding for the 11th because we would be in the grand final on the 17th, and we booked the one before, so we worked it out. And we had to do it for 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because if it fell on the day where the grand final was on, I'd have had to play the game, then go straight to my wedding. So, it was a nightmare. It really was for those days. Anyway, as it panned out, it all went well. And we ended up. The week was fun, and that is another one of the things that I know. We got married at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We had trouble with the priest. He didn't want that late. He wanted earlier, but we had no option. We had to book that far in advance.
Yeah.
And anyway, she went off to America, and that was it. We were happy. Then I got hurt.
Yeah.
And I woke up in Coolangatta the next bloody morning. And there was also a tail there because I ended up, unbeknownst to me, I had a major, because of the hard bull I saw on the ground. I got a gravel rash down. Can't remember which side it was. One of them anyway. I got right down, and they gave Margaret a bottle of the methylated spirits and a bottle of paraffin. And the idea was to clean around around the side of the gravel rash, take the pad off it, clean it up around the outside with the methylated spirits, pour the paraffin back onto a new pad, put it back on my side. She got the bottles mixed up.
Oh, no.
She poured instead of pouring paraffin on them, she poured methylated spirits straight onto an open cut.
Oh, no.
I reckon there's a hole in the wall where my head hit. Oh, God, I'll never forget that. It was unbelievable, you know.
Oh, great.
She thought she'd kill me. She didn't know what had happened. It wasn't, for a couple of days, it wasn't a real good time walking around, you know. Oh, my God. I'm very pleased to know these days you haven't got to play on cricket pitches because, you know, it's murderous, it is, really and truly.
Yeah, that'd have been terrible.
And that panned out. That was one of the main reasons what I got infected with the bull I saw as a result of that one.
You got the boils after that.
I got the boils, and they broke out like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what kind of person was Margaret?
Another angel.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We had a very, don't tell too many people this, but we had an arrangement that we would, if we had a brawl, we had very few arguments. There's something about, I don't know what it was, there's something about I mean, she had a beautiful attitude towards the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really truly, she was a brilliant mother, and she really helped me out in so far as the when I went refereeing, because now I lost my buckets of money that I was going to earn were gone. So and Darcy Lawler said to me, I think as I told you, Darcy was a referee, and he refereed me in quite a few of the games on that year, on that period, even in reserve grade. And he rang me up at work one day. He found out where I was, and he said, he said they're looking for grade referees, for blokes who've got first class experience. You probably heard that not a halfback for Western Suburbs. He went into refereeing. Bill. The old referees are bloody. The names are all eluding me at the present moment. They were looking for more to come in. They reckon ex-players were making good referees, but in those days we refereed by the book, and you had to sit for an examination, and you had to get 100% to get your ticket. And Darcy said to me, he said, "Come and get your ticket." He said, "You probably know the rules by now." I said, "Oh, yeah, I've got a fair idea." I said, "But what about me back? It was well known then what had happened." He said, "You would probably be better off exercising the back, but he said you're not getting any bumps. Now, what you don't want is somebody driving you into the ground or tackling you, but if you can run around." And if it was true, because you're behind the play all the time and you're just sort of coasting around and doing things like that. And he got me to get me a ticket, and I refereed down with South, for quite a while. And then when
South Juniors or
South Juniors.
Yeah. Did you ever referee first grade or?
No, I didn't make grade because I disgraced the uniform of the New South Wales Referees Association.
What do you mean?
Well, back in those days, the President's Cup was the juniors.
Oh, yeah.
Not like it is today.
Okay.
That was the juniors. It was an under 21 competition.
Okay.
And it was all the junior sides in the junior leagues around the area. You refereed those, and they'd be at the end of coming up to the end of the years. They make it inter-district, so all your referees they trying out for grade were appointed those games. And I did a game on Redfern Oval between better panned out Newtown and South, which I thought later, stupid idea. Why would you put a South Sydney referee on a game with the opposition?
Yeah.
They sort of keep me away from it. Anyway, what actually happened? And then, by the way, then the New South Wales Referees Association, they appointed blokes to look at you, write in the book how you went, whether or not your recommendation did you go into grade.
Yeah.
And I was a firm believer. When I was refereeing, I firmly believed that you should referee the way you like to see the game played, rather than the other way out. And I had a couple of penalties against the Newtown side, and of course the crowd was starting to get a bit upset. He played for South, he's looking after him. See. Anyway, what actually happened was I penalised one bloke, and he walked up to me and he took his jumper off and he put it over my shoulder. And I said, "What are you doing that for?" And he said, "Oh, you might as well join him." He said, "You're biased."
Yeah.
And I said, I looked at him and I thought, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I said to him, I still remember this day, I said to him, "Listen," I said, "I know you're upset. You've got 15 seconds to take it off my shoulder. I want you to take it off, put it back on. I don't want you to say you're sorry. I just want you to get back and go on with the game." And I said, "And then it's finished. Nothing more." And he said, looked at me and he said, took the jumper back, started to stick it on. When he finished, he put his hand out and shook it in my hand. He said, "I do apologise. I wasn't expecting one." I said, "You're in the heat at the moment. These things do happen." I went in at half time and the bloke attacked me.
Jeez.
The Referees Association's bloke on the game for that day. He said, "I'm recommending you don't go into grade."
Wow.
He said, "You just disgraced the New South Wales Referees Association jersey." I looked at him, I said, "You've got to be bloody joking." I said, I never so I said it to him. You're forgetting one thing. I said, in the rule book, when I walk on that field, I've got jurisdiction over everybody. I can please myself what I do. I don't have to send somebody if I don't want to. Judge, be the judge, not the jury. So I said, that's okay. And I said, that if that's what you want, I don't care. So I just threw my whistle on the table. Yeah. And I said, well, if you don't want me, you don't want me. Going home. He said, you've got to finish the game. I said, no, I don't have to. I said, you just told me you don't want me. And then, so he gave one of the touch judges to get the whistle. I just sat the game out. I got called before the New South Wales Referees Association, and I say this to this day, Darcy, he stood there and supported me. He said he had no right to come to you at half time. If he had an argument, he puts it in the book, closes the book and goes home, and then reports on the Monday at the meeting. Instead of walking in and talking to the referee at the half-time mark. I tell a tale about my grandmother. She had great delight in going out, slipping out the door when Mum and Dad weren't available. She'd disappear.
Yeah, right.
They brought her home once in a wagon, and she liked it. In the next 6 months, she was out about 5 times. They brought her home. I still remember the last time they go, Mr. Brennan, we got your mother again. Yes. Where did you pick her up this time? Down in Darling Harbour. Yeah. Where the hell did she get down there?
How old was she at the time? Yeah.
She was about 81.
81?
About 81. I said, nobody had a car in those days.
Yeah.
And she went out when the couples found her walking there one day, but one night it was on dusk, and they asked her where she lived. She said, I live there, blah, blah. They put her in the back and they brought her home. She thought that was nice.
Yeah. You should do it again.
She loved it. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, you know, when you over a period of time, you could have great delight in remembering things like that. Yeah. But it's one of those bloody things. But anyway, as I said to you, Margaret and I got married, and we've got raised 4 bloody children, and that was my answer to you about the fact that, what my philosophy in life was.
Yeah.
My philosophy in life is I'm in the middle of it at the present moment. Timothy, I said, I had a bit of a bad childhood. Margaret was in a similar situation because, with a family of so many people, and we decided, we would want things done for our children, and we did it, and we basically taught them to respect. And we always adopted, they wanted them to adopt the attitude, and if you had an argument, settle it before you go to bed, because you wake up tomorrow morning a clean slate. But there's nothing worse than having an argument with your wife, going to bed, and it's still on the next morning, ice at the house, and that's it. Policy's gone right through, and I've told them, I've preached that to my daughters and sons. And what are they? Sons-in-law. That's it, not son-in-laws. Sons-in-law. I've had a couple of them talk about things like that. And Margaret and I, the society, perhaps try and give the kids something we didn't have when we were kids. And my philosophy has been to try and get them to be. I'm not saying angels, but try and look after things. Now today, I've got 4 bloody terrific kids.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. And they've always been in touch with me, and they've crawled here on hands and knees at times to come and see me, and that's it. I get calls. There are times when I wish they wouldn't ring so many times. I said, get to work on the bloody roster. You ring Monday, you ring Tuesday, you ring Thursday, Friday. That's it. But they and I know Sally is one of that's the eldest granddaughter. She's come to me and said, Dad is following your philosophy. And I said, what way? She said, I get a lecture on how we should behave and all the rest like that. And I said, well, you got any objection to it? She said, no. She said, I'll be teaching it to my family. And that's it. And we adopted that attitude with, it might sound hard to say this, but I don't think I've ever had a real decent argument with Margaret in my life.
Yeah, that's great.
didn't always see eye to eye, but any arguments we settled, that was it. Well, of course, I used to always say to the kids, if you have an argument, you make it up at night, it's better in bed. you cuddle each other. That's the way it works. It's bloody true if you have an argument with somebody. See, I only ever got drunk once. Boys took me out once when I used to have a day out once a year towards about Christmas time, the boys in payroll. They took me out. They took me to St George League Club, and they got me in blunt terms, Pierce. Next, Margaret. Actually, it was two. One of the referees took me out one night. It was when the night I joined the Blacktown Workers Club. Doc Mitchell was on the board. He brought me home and put me in the door. Margaret told him, if you were to bring my husband home like this again, I'm going to kill you. And she was feeling. So Doc said, she worried me that night. He said, I look in her eyes. And he said, I thought, oh, bloody hell, I'm going to be in the middle, mate. Well, she fixed me. She said, next morning, I was sick as a dog. I couldn't go to work, the other one. And she said, come on, get up. You don't have to go to work. You can stay home. You can have a sickie for a change. So I said, oh, God, I feel sick. So I sat down at that bloody table and had raw eggs. Oh, I took one.
Raw eggs.
She just put them in the pan, then poured them straight onto the plate.
That'd make you even more sick.
I went straight into the bathroom. I had a headache, and I said, that's it. But now I know why I don't drink.
Yep.
For thereafter, the boys used to say to me, you coming out with tonight? I said, yeah, I'll come, but I'm driving. And I said, no, you don't have to worry about it. I never touched another drink from that day on. It wasn't because of her, just because I'd never had beer. I'd broken a promise to myself that I wouldn't drink after my father, and that was about the size of it. Never again. And to this day, I still haven't touched it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What year was that you last touched?
It was about so it'd have to be after 61. I was still remembering the bedroom. And it would have been about 1965, I reckon.
1965, wow. That's pretty impressive. 55 years. That's pretty good.
Well, my record's 66.
Yeah.
I've been married to Margaret, 66.
66,
Even if it's, what it is. But
yeah.
God, it's bloody incredible. No, it's all right. I honestly think I'm very lucky. I mean, I think having this bad back and doing exercise over the years, and I used to be able to get on the floor once and then spend about 20 minutes exercising, lifting legs, and God knows what. Now I can't get off the floor. You've got to use the old idea they teach in hospital now. Before you get out, if you're going to do exercise, before you put a chair there, and then when you finish, to crawl yourself to it and then get up off the chair. Yeah, and that's it. And make sure the back of the chair's against the wall. That works wonders. Wow. And that's the size of it. But no, I feel myself, I feel pretty good. I think I've kept my health a little bit better, and I blame that on Margaret because she was very particular about food.
Yep.
And I thank God for that. And it's one of those bloody things.
There you go.
Obviously, and to hear by my talking, I miss her.
Yeah. So when did she pass away? What year did she pass away? 7 years ago, did you say?
2013. Yeah. And it's be 7. On the 30th of October, it'll be 7 years. It's gone like buggery. You have no idea. You don't believe time. When you let somebody, people say, how you going, Bobo? How long, Margaret? How long since Margaret died? 5 years? I say, no, 7. Coming up 7. It's hard to believe, and it makes you really wonder. And I wonder about my brother. My brother's wife, she died because she's coming up 11. And at least Margaret died in hospital. Joan had a pacemaker in, and he was taking her down to the hospital and just stopped. Had to get her out on the side of the road and try to give her mouth to mouth. Too late.
Yeah, wow.
Absolutely.
Hard.
Yeah. And that's the way it worked out.
Yeah.
That was Joan, and he's still going.
There you go.
It's good. Drill?
Yeah, something
A
drill.
drill. Will that come up on that?
Maybe a little bit. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I think your voice overrides it. So
That does it.
yeah,
That's
fine.
good.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you want about me now?
Well, how about your rugby league career? A bit more on that. So, how about, when did you start playing rugby league?
The first game of rugby league I played was in the schoolyard in 1942 when I broke it in 7 spots.
Oh, that was your first time. First time. Well, that was touch footy, but it wasn't.
We were in the game after school.
Yeah.
If I'd have gone home from school, I'd have been right. But because we lived just up the road from the St Benedict's, we were number 57. You can imagine on the odd side. What's that? 23 houses up. From the school, and we were up there, and I was fiddling around. It's just one of those cases, somebody got to. We were just buggerising around instead of kicking a football around. The school in those days, the brothers in those days were all rugby league fans, like they are today, and we were throwing a stuffed football around. And I decided, if I'm going to score a try, so I ran across and he tackled me straight into the bloody ground. Oh, God, I can still feel it.
You still feel it? Jeez.
And when the guy tried to get up, I couldn't get up. And I looked at my ankle right in the shin, on the front of the shin. It must have been about the size of a small football that was coming out. And all the way up it started to do the same.
Yeah.
And one of the brothers we knew quite well, I think it was one of those that Mum got used to, looking after in the depression. Coleman come out and he looked at me and he said, Mrs. B's not going to be impressed about this. I said, I can't get up off the ground. He said, can't you? I said, no. He said, oh my God, look at your leg.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't. I said, what do you reckon? And he said, get on my back. So he shoved me on his back and he carried me all the way home. He rang the doorbell and he said, Mrs. Brennan. He said, I got your son here. And she said, what's he done? He said, he'll tell you I'm going. And anyway, of course, that was about, so I ended up going to get me down to Macquarie Street, down to Sydney Hospital.
Yep.
Because that was it. But there was one day I'll always remember. It was the day that I had a plaster in from the waist right to the toes, and it was dead straight. And I was in there for over a month. And eventually they had to take the heavy cast off and put a light cast on, as they put it, but they still kept the legs. I think it was about 2.5 months down, and I had to go and see the doctor to have the taken off. They took me in, and they said, you've got to stand up and bend your knee. I said, I can't bend my knee. Yes, you can. Yes, no, I can't. Yes, you can. So the doctor went bang, just like that. Oh, I thought he'd broken it.
Yeah.
That's stiff.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And of course, if you don't exercise it, you're going to lose it. That was about the size of it.
Yeah, wow.
So I had to go around. I've never felt. The day I broke my leg, I reckon the pain wasn't nearly as bad as that. But having stuff that, been like that for too much, oh my God, I didn't think I was ever going to break. And when the subs on, what's the other one? When they shelled, when the air raid went, alarm went off, we used to have a table in the house at home. It was one of the old-fashioned ones. Probably, you drop bricks on it and never bend. Everybody was under the table. And it panned out. It was just a false alarm. Yeah. It didn't work. No, I had to be on a crutch for about 3 months. Yep. And I thought, my father's looking at me like saying, I think your any idea of a football career's gone, boy. And I thought, oh shit. I know how much he wanted one of his sons to. He always said that. I want one of my sons to play with South Sydney.
Did you feel pushed at all? Did you feel obligated to play for South Sydney because of that, or?
My brother and I, in 1946, 45, 46, 47, sports ground used to run the other direction in those days. It was the old sports ground where Allianz is now. Yep. And it used to run east-west. Yep. And we used to go and watch South play. In 46, South did win a game. And in 47, they won one. And we saw every home game. Wow. Out there. My brother was mad about us on. And we went out there. And I still remember most of the football players in there. My favourite footballer was Jim Armstrong. He was a big forward. He was a copper. And under the old siding of the ground, he could kick a football from attempted goal and it'd land in Driver Avenue. He could kick a ball for miles.
Yeah.
You know? And South Sydney won a game.
Mm.
And I found out. And Clem Kennedy was playing with South, and he was playing in those days. And I ran into him quite a few times afterwards. Very strange, but no, I honestly, I couldn't have cared less if I had played grade.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that he wanted it, and Mum kept telling me, your father loved you to play football if you can school. And so anyway, so when I went to Darlinghurst, and suddenly reports are coming home, Les can run.
Yep.
And that was about size, but so then he did it, and I was one of the few people, I suppose, I'd probably called a few. When we moved to Rosebery, I used to walk to Redfern Hill to get the tram to go out, and I was one of the few people in Chippendale who walked through the block. I could walk up the middle of the block, and I was getting away from all the Aboriginals because two of the blokes I played with in the President's Cup were up there. And Cecil Robinson was the fullback. He used to go walkabout. We'd go training. Anybody seen Cecil? No, he's gone walkabout. I never had any arguments with the Aboriginal. I used to play cricket in the street with a couple of them. We had played handball up against the walls of the factories down there.
There you go.
And John, and people, I never had any problems with the Aboriginal boys. And people say, that's so. I think the problem arose when they started, people started bringing the grog to them up there. But the block was, don't walk through the block. I always walk through the block. I come home at night time to walk through the block. It wouldn't worry me. And people used to say, I don't. Because I used to, when I was courting my wife, the last tram along Botany Road left at 12 o'clock. So we went to the pitches in town. We'd be on, the last tram had gone by the time I'd got home and so I used to have to walk from Mascot to Redfern Hill. And then the quickest way home was down through the block.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I never had any troubles in those days. And then I saved up enough money to buy a push bike.
There you go.
So I used to ride a push bike. Out to Mascot, that was it. That idea of the last tram at 12 o'clock, you'd have no time for a cuddle. Completely.
Yeah.
God.
So, 1950. We'll maybe talk about 1954 now. If that's right.
Yeah.
So, the glory year.
The glory years. There were glory years. Even when I was in my prime, I suppose you could put it that way, there was never any thought about scoring so many tries.
Okay.
And what really remains in my mind today, they score a try, it mobbed, everybody's jumping everybody.
Yeah.
To score a try in those days, put the ball down, everybody walked back to the line.
Really? It wasn't celebrated as much?
No celebration. The best jacket come up and say, good, well done.
Why do you think that was?
It was part and parcel of the game.
Yeah.
If you did any celebrating, it was later. Like Wacker, I remember one day when we were at the sports ground, I scored a try in reserve grade. You probably heard of Wacker.
What's his last name?
Johnny Graves.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was the star of the first grade, which I replaced to him. And I did one game at the sports ground. I picked the ball up in the end goal and ran the full length of the field and scored a try. And when I come off at half time, Johnny threw his arms around me and said, "Oh, son, that was reminiscent of me." It was fair dinkum.
Yeah.
It was like that, John.
Yeah.
And the day he retired, and he said, "You're going to replace me."
Yep.
That's all he said, and he wished me luck and all the rest like that. And he was the clown of the side, you'd be on the rubbing table, and if you didn't watch out, he'd drop a cracker and lift the cover and drop a cracker there, and the bloody cracker would go off you.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God, you wouldn't know what the hell was going on. After a while, he was always one, if you picked up a glass of water and walked through a door or something like that, the old days used to have the door half open. I don't know whether anybody does it today, but you'd put a telephone book on the top, and when you walk through and open the door, he used to do that with a glass of water.
Yeah, right.
He'd balance it on the top, and of course, naturally, anybody going through a door, you just open the door, and the moment you'd done that, it's leaned against the door, down it comes a glass of water. Oh, he was the clown, but as I said, there was none of this joyous celebration after the game was over.
Yeah.
You'd shake hands with everybody else and they'd go up and walk in. There was none of this bloody raucous what goes on in the dressing rooms today at the school.
The team song. Do you sing the team songs?
No song.
Oh.
No, nothing. Don Lane was the one who introduced that.
Okay.
Do you remember Don
No.
Lane? He was the American entertainer. He came out and he'd become a fan of South.
Yeah, right.
And Don Lane was the one who did that.
Mm.
And they created the song, and we had nothing like that. In those days, there was no South Sydney Leagues Club.
Mm.
And Jack Glasheen was the president of South Sydney. He owned the pub on the corner of Redfern Street and Redfern and Pitt it is, that's right. And the boys used to do a turn up there.
Mm.
And in a way, I felt a bit out of it because I didn't drink.
Mm.
Went after the game, and I just thought I was living in Chippendales in those days, so I just headed for home, and that was about the size of it.
Mm.
I mean, there was no great celebrations like there is today, but the camaraderie was there, well and truly. That went on. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you remember in 1953, the American All-Stars?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because I find that's another story I find fascinating. Can you talk to me about that at all? Of your memories of that?
I remember that. I went to the game that was played at Parramatta.
Okay.
At the old Parramatta Stadium. Where have I got me? My lips are getting a bit dry.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, I went to see that, and I took my what was it? No, it wasn't Margaret to see that, and we went out and sat on the hill at the old near the old cricket scoreboard. Margaret took one look at the way they were padded up and all the rest like that, and she said, "It looks so strange. They're all padded up, and they got their shoulders, they got their masks, they got their helmets on. Our blokes running out there just like the normal." You think, yeah. I had a lovely daughter. It was when the French came out there one year. I took her down to Parramatta to sit on the hill. Mm-hmm. And
Cumberland Oval, right?
The old Cumberland Oval. And one of those blokes had a bloody big flag. Mm-hmm. And my daughter, can I say it in here?
Yeah. Say whatever you like.
She'd go like this, and this bloke's waving. Every time something had happened, this bloke would wave. It was a monstrous bloody flag. I've never. It's probably as big as the ones today, but it looked worse.
Yeah.
She said, "Dad, hang on, I've got to get up." So she got up, and bearing in mind she was pretty well into her teens by this time. And she walked up and she said to the bloke, "If you don't put that fag away, I'm going to shove it up your ass." And she said, "I've said my piece, Dad."
Yeah.
And I said, "Nice Catholic girl going to a Catholic high school."
Yeah.
I said, "I agree with you." And I said, "I'll do it for him." You know what happened? He put it away.
There you go.
Put it away. Oh, God, that really annoys me. You go to a game and you get behind somebody who wants to bloody wave flags and things like that. Why?
Yeah.
Do that later.
Yeah.
When the game's over. But but no, I can remember the All Stars, and I think.
Was it big news back in the day, or was it popular? Were they popular, or?
When they ditched their gear, yes, the girls could see their faces.
Yeah, apparently the girls were all over them.
Oh, well, they were all over them, but they never knew what was under the helmets. That was the point. I looked at that and I thought, God, if you played this in winter out here with the humidity, it'd kill you. Anyway, they only I think they put it on for half a game and then they pulled it off, and then they went finally when they on their tour they went down to shorts like we were wearing, and that was it about it. But I had no idea of the game. It was a joke.
They didn't go too bad though.
No,
They went right.
considering.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of little things that remind me of Parramatta, the old, on Broadway there used to be St Barnabas Church, had the notice board, and the bloke, the pastor on that one, was friends or something like that, very close, to the publican on the other side. And they used to put these signs up on the old notice board, like the church signs, blah, blah, blah. And so, the one that cracked everybody up in those days was the fact that he put up, was coming up to Easter, he said, and the publican, so the priest over there, he put up, "Christ is coming." And the bloke across the road rushed out with a board that says, "Parramatta will buy him." It was a time that Parramatta was spending money like nobody at all. And that got in the newspapers in those days.
Yeah.
Christ is coming.
Yeah.
Parramatta will buy him.
Yeah.
He got burnt out over there, unfortunately. I reckon that was a bit of arson because the business wanted the corner where he was parked. They had an application for DA in, but what it was, the church went down the laneway and it went around the corner where the church was, and somebody bought this and they wanted the whole lot. And the church, by the way, was classified. It got burnt down one night. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Got burnt out. They couldn't bring it back.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There you go.
In a way, there wasn't much to between. We did start training till February in those days, and I think the competition started in March. And we're nowhere in the conditions of what they are today.
Not much of a pre-season.
We would not last. I'm going to be honest. I'm truthful. I wouldn't last till half time.
Yeah.
The way the game is today, and as far as up top, I was a runner. Not. I reckon a lot of these players today are definitely Aussie rules boys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And when you look at the wingers today, most of them are about 6 foot.
Yeah.
And when they
You
jump,
seen Micah Sevo from Parramatta? I'm trying to take luck.
well,
Take that guy.
you'll probably find in one of those reports that I wrote about. Either Michael or Brad asked me about this one, and we the Sydney sides used to play the country sides.
Yeah.
Right, we drew Newcastle to play at the Sydney Cricket Ground. What about him, Bandy Adams? Remember him at all?
No? Bandy Adams?
Bandy Adams.
Okay.
He was called Bandy because he was bandy. His legs were like that.
Yeah.
You could run between his knees. Well, I was running for the Sydney side, and after that game I was a dead loss.
Yeah, right.
He killed me.
Yeah.
No idea which way he went. It was about 5'8", probably.
Yeah.
Built like a beer barrel. Hit you when he hit you was like a brick.
Yeah, well.
And when he went around, he's one of these blokes that could run towards you, and suddenly he's gone all around the bloody place. See. And to this day, I always say, I knew I was in running for the city side. That buggered me. And I think I said that to Brad when he interviewed me.
Yeah.
I said I was in line for a Sydney side, but I didn't make it because I didn't know which way he went.
Yeah.
He was a sensation for one game.
Yeah.
Because what he does in the bandy leagues.
Yeah.
And I think he only made one game,
yeah,
and that was it. And that was the one that I wanted.
Yeah.
But I always have an argument to that because when I was that day, they put me opposite, changed my wing over. They made me play the left wing, and because Bandy was on the right wing opposite me, and he would have been against Ian, and they swung me over to the left hand side. And God.
Yeah, right.
I laugh about that. It was like running into a brick wall.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was. Size didn't worry me in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at Clive Churchill. If a bloke was running at him, he'd just take him around the legs and just let him roll over the top and then pick him up. Yeah. And that was it. I could never perfect that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But no one in the world I could perfect that. And a lot of times too, I do admit, I wasn't real good in defence because I played every game I played in, every side I played in up till that's when I got into South. I didn't have to worry about tackling. And Jack Rayner said one day when somebody mentioned about the fact, he's not real good on defence, and it was famous last words. Jack said, he's not out there to tackle, he's out there to score tries.
Yeah, right.
And he said, that's Chicka's job, the lock forward. If all we were told to do, which was contrary to what they're doing today, if there's a breakthrough, you stay with your winger. And what you do is you force the ball inside, which allows the defence coming over, like Chikakowie was always in defence, he's closer. If you go inside and take him and you leave the winger open, he's got an extra 10, 20 yards to go. So you take the winger, you stay with him, and let somebody else look after it. And that was what Jack's intentions were all the way through. He always said to me, Kate, stay with your winger, don't come inside. Stay, force him inside.
Yeah.
And he got very technical when I was playing with Forest Lodge CYO, the bloke by the name of Bill Brogan. He was an ex-Kangaroo back in the 1937s or something like that. He was one of those old forwards. He was coaching 70. He got me one day and he said to me, it's a science when you've got to beat a man. And I practised and practised and practised the fact that, what you do is when you got the ball, you don't go straight to the wing. You stay inside as long as possible. And then when they start to come across, I've got to remember this, you've got to watch their feet. And the moment if you're running that way and he's coming across at you, when he puts his right foot down, you move. Because for him to come any further, he's got to go one more pace and push off his right. And by then, you're away. And he had me practising that at old Harold Park Raceway, where we used to play in the old days, in the middle of the racing track there. The oval was inside that. And I practised and practised and practised that, and got to the stage where one day they put me up against about 5 blokes and made them all run across, including my brother, and I got through 4, but I didn't make the 5th. Yeah. But just by watching the feet.
Yeah. Right.
You move, just all you need is one pace and you're away. You can go prop yourself and go in, and then what you do, don't stay out there, come back in again, and let them go.
There you go.
But I think I told Brad that when I was talking about it, and Bill Brogan. He was a technician, that bugger. He couldn't run up and down the field, he was too fat. He loved his beer.
Yeah.
Those like all those blokes did.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah. But for the whole year, really, when you're playing with South, in 54, it was socialising. Everybody trained and went home on the merry way. Getting back to there was nothing like the celebration switch going today. Margaret used to always say to me, "Yes, didn't carry on like that, did you?" I said, "No." And there was a time, wasn't there, where they were practising diving after they scored tries, and throwing time bombs and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, God.
Yeah.
If Margaret used to always say to you, if the rules were the same today as what they were, the rules then were the same as today, I reckon you'd have scored over 34 tries, because in those days, if you touched the corner post, you're out.
Yeah, right. So did you get caught for that a few times? Touch the corner post, did you?
Yeah, hit the corner post. Yeah. Even touch it, you're out.
Yeah.
It's such part of the in-goal area on the game. And you had to have the ball in your hand and force it, not there.
Oh, okay.
Not there. Had to be in the hand and drop it down.
Yep.
So that's about the size. I was thinking, I got the 29. I was often thinking about you both from Newtown.
Ray Preston.
Ray Preston. Yeah, 34, didn't he?
34.
I reckon, wingers in those days, our days, would have had. You went for that corner. You knew. You look across and you think, I've got to go in, so you try and do the swan dive. But if you're still upright, they've got no chance in the world. You touch that post, even the slightest touch. Moment it wiggles, it's a no try.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we'd go today.
There you go.
I was sincerely hoping that what's the bloke on the wing for South now?
Alex Johnson.
Alex, I'd like to have seen Alex get it, because I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
He's a very modest.
Well, he got the top try scorer.
Yeah, but I'd like to see him hit the 20,
Oh,
hit the 29. It's got to go. It's got to go to somebody I'd like to.
It's a bit much these days. Like 29's a lot. I think Semirad Radha scored 24. Like that was the last time anyone who scored. Like 29's a lot of tries.
Well, if they bring another side in, like they're talking about it, that means extra games. That's all there is to it.
Oh, that's true. Extra games, maybe.
Extra games, extra tries. Now, the couple of the boys from my ex-DMT boys are always saying to me, like, it'll never be beaten.
No.
I said, it can be beaten, but
it can be beaten.
It won't be beaten in the number of number of games.
No, yeah.
It'll go to 30.
If it goes to 30, then maybe, yeah. But 24 is it's a bit of a stretch, probably.
It's just
especially this year,
in the 19 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to score 29 tries in 19 games again, I don't think.
Oh, well. My son doesn't want it broken.
No.
He said, Dad, they'll never beat it. I said, they will. Somebody's records are made to be beaten. That's all there is to it. That's the idea.
Yeah.
And particularly if you want somebody to break it, you can do it. I mean, look at Alex, fifth one.
The 5 tries.
He waited for him to come up in the hand, gave him the ball.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, good. I don't care. It doesn't worry me.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him do it. I just think I still can't understand why South were trying to get rid of him. Bucket if I know.
Yeah. Well, is he playing next year?
Yes, I
think so.
Giving him another contract for another 2 years.
Yeah.
So he should do it. I'm thinking to myself, why would you? And he's a good fullback, and he's a good winger. Why would you get rid of him? I'll be honest, I don't think the bloke they've got from Eastern Suburbs is worth the money. What's his name? The bloke was in trouble. He's out with a broken queer thing.
What position?
Murphy? No, not Murphy.
No. What position? Oh, Cameron Murray.
No, not Cameron. The $4 million man they brought over from didn't want to play with Eastern Suburbs. And it'll come to me. What
position does he play?
Fullback. He wanted.
Latrell Mitchell.
Latrell Mitchell. He wants to play fullback, and after the first 5 games, he's not a fullback.
Yeah.
He's definitely not a fullback. He's a centre, and that's all he's doing. They like.
He's a very good centre.
Oh yeah, bloody oath he is. I look at that try almost. Well, like he started off behind his own in goal and brought it down the sideline. They ran right down the middle of the field, and I thought, that's a try. But he doesn't seem to be able to position himself right. He always seems to be. He's the last line of defence. Most times when they break through, he's not there. He's up in the in goal. He's like Greg Inglis used to be. Greg would be wandering into dummy half and getting the balls, they play it and hand it to somebody. Your job's out in the middle.
Yeah.
I can hear Jack. You're out there. That's your place out there, not there. He was very adamant about that. He was a bloody brilliant coach, I think, Jack Rayner.
Captain coach.
Yeah, God.
How can he doing 2 at the same time?
Yeah.
All right, you're talking about. We're on to the 1954 season. How about? Do you remember your debut? You're on, first grade.
First game.
First grade debut.
A blur.
Yeah.
A blur. I know. There was something happened on my first game.
Do you remember who you played?
Kevin Wolfe got injured, and they're still applying, as you know, in those days. You didn't come off.
So there were no substitutes?
No substitutes at all. You couldn't do that. That was the reason why a couple of South Sydney blokes, played on with broken jaws and things like that.
Yeah, John Sadler.
That's one of the things I asked Margaret. I said, didn't replace me? She said, no. Ray Mason got hurt too in that grand final. And that's in the paper that I got inside and report on the of the game. And she said, no, you stayed on the ice. And I said, well, did I do anything I shouldn't have? She said, no, you just went normal. She said, you looked like every time you stood up, she said you wobbled. And I said, obviously I had it. So I wouldn't have passed the test today.
Oh, no.
I'd been off, but that was unfortunately the way. You had no option to go. But when the first game, we played it in the old sports ground, and I know that Kevin got injured, and they took him off to do something to him. So then I had to move into the centres.
Kevin
Wolf.
Kevin Wolf.
I think I told you he coached the mascot for CYO side. And then 4 years later I was playing grade with him.
Yeah.
And I went to his wedding. He married one of the girls from the CYO too. When he came down, we brought him into the CYO, and we got one of the boys, and that was about the size. But he, I know he could. And I know I played for about 10 minutes, and I've never. I think I told you I've never played other than wing, and I was a bit lost for a while.
Mm. This was your debut game.
When he wanted back, what they did was they put him on Ian's wing, and moved. What happened there then? That's right. Ian came into the centres, and I went back on my right wing, and I was the other. Who was in the middle with me? That's the other centre. Malcolm Atkinson.
And was it inside and outside centres back then?
Didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
It was first up. They called it.
What does that mean?
The first bloke up takes the inside centre.
What was that?
You got the halfback.
Yeah.
5'8".
Yeah.
Inside centre.
Yeah.
Outside centre.
Yeah, and they used to running this. How did that work? How did you make it? How did the centres go from one side of the field to the other? That would have been.
Well, just depending on which. If you're in the middle, you just line up one each way. But when between the halfback and the 5'8", they're already made up. If you're going to win the scrum, they've made up their mind which way they're going to run.
Okay.
Little signal let them know which way they're going.
Right.
So first up takes the first pass up when it comes from a 5'8", and that's it.
Yeah.
Completely. That's part and parcel of the tactics, which you're out practising and all the rest like that. The worst part of all is trying to remember what does that mean. You can't think about it. Why it is.
Yeah.
But I only once ever had to fill in at the centre, and I was a bit lost, to be honest.
Playing outside centre.
Yeah, I stayed out. I just mentioned it to Malcolm Atkinson was the other bloke, and I said to Mel, I'll go out all the time, just like that, which is the closest. And fortunately, Kevin was get back on, and what you basically do, the forwards cover the bloke who's injured, and that's probably what happened to me in the grand final. The grand final, they probably had to cover for me, but also Ray Mason was hurt too, and he got hurt. The two of them, but anyway, it's panned out. I don't think we scored a point in the second half. All the points were scored in the first half, if I remember rightly. And that was back the side. We got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Were there any significant games throughout the season? I've got your records here. You scored 3 tries in your second match. Do you remember that? You scored 1 try on debut. Do you remember that?
I've got it all in here.
You scored 1 try on debut, scored 3 tries at the SCG in your second match over Manly. You scored 1 try, then you scored 3 tries.
I remember Manly. I think I got 3 tries against Manly twice, if I remember rightly.
You scored 3 tries, and then you scored 4 tries against Manly.
4. That's right. I scored the 4. Oh, God.
You scored 4 tries and a 46-19 win over Manly at Brookvale Oval. You also scored 4 tries at Belmore Oval over Canterbury. Do you remember that? 4 tries over Canterbury? 39-9.
To be honest, I don't remember that. There's a whole lot of them there. It's in that middle one, but that comes out of the book inside.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've done a bit of. Yeah, I've done that. Read all that stuff.
You know more about me than I know about myself.
So you scored 3 hat tricks. And you scored 4 tries. Yeah, 4 double hat tricks, I think they're called.
The only thing you haven't asked me about, we played 20 rounds that time, and I only played 19 games.
Yeah.
I was injured.
You're injured.
I was injured. I didn't take that was when I had the boils. I couldn't get out on the. I was stuck, completely gone on. They didn't think it was worthwhile me going out with the boils.
Yeah.
And then.
What Jim? Was it start of the season, end of the season, middle of the season? What part of the year do you remember?
I would say it was. It was probably in one of the. I think it might have been in the middle where I only scored one try one day, and that was about the size I was in problems with that. And I think that was I stayed out because they had a very, if I can put it away, nasty way of treating boils. Do you know it?
No.
Well, when you had a boil, it comes up in like a large pimple, and it comes up with a yellow top, and that's full of pus. And what they did in the old days, and this was, they break the pus, and then they make a taper out of like a shoelace, out of cloth, and they put it in and pack it down, to absorb all the juice coming off the boil. And then what they do, you leave it in for a couple of days, and then they pull it out. It brings all the pus out instead of having to squeeze it out.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it doesn't. It's not real good when they're doing it.
Yeah,
each individual one. As soon as the yellow top comes on it, and that's it. It's a bloody terrible thing. And unfortunately today, there's not much of it. I've only ever had one. I was fiddling around with my sister many years ago, and I put one of her hairpins, hair down the inside of that cane. They had to cut the finger here and here, lift that back, pack it all in there, and then close it up and fold it up, and you'd leave it in there for about a week. And that's when I sort of realised, what was going to happen to me when I played football. And this thing there, but it's the sure way of getting rid of it. And they pack it in down with what's it? It's like I can't think of the bloody name. They don't use it anymore. It's one of these things that's got salt and what else? Preparation to kill you, put it that way. And they pack it in, and you've got to leave it in there for 24 hours, and then they take the top off, and they pull the feed out, and they have a look and say, it needs a bit more, so you've got to go again. Yeah, not good.
No, that doesn't sound good.
That was enough to do it. Yeah, I got the compensation that time, and Jack said, no, we're all right, we'll drop you off this game. I think Dale Purin got to play in that one, if I remember right, because he took my place in 55 when I gave it away. Yeah. Dale went in there. It's amazing how you remember bloody names, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the blokes like that, and I can't remember what yesterday was. Yeah.
There you go. So I've got another. Where is it? I've got another cool statistic.
Yep.
For you. So you're. That I haven't mentioned yet. That you're one of 7 players that has scored more tries than played games. Can you remember?
Have I done that? I thought I was short.
32 in 24.
Oh, in the first grade.
Yeah, first grade.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought the right through the whole game.
Ah, no.
Yeah.
Not all the not all the grades. Just first grade. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew. If I'd have been able to continue on in 55,
yeah,
I would not have that. No, Michael never mentioned that. He was talking about the fact that I was, what do you call me, a try running machine.
Yes.
And he said when you add all the games you played with South against all, I think I'm about. I haven't scored one every the equivalent of. I've played X number of games. I haven't scored X number of tries. I've played X number of games, but I've scored X minus about 3 or 4. I haven't made it. And I said to him, they were the ones they disallowed because I died in the corner. Yeah. Actually, in my photos, there's one of the blokes at work.
You keep trying to do this. It's double tap. Done about
There it is.
times.
Gotta go. Where are we? One of my ex. There's a lot of. That's the old transport sides that I play with. There's quite a few great players in there.
Yeah, right.
And that's in the main competition. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
I'm up in the park.
Send those later if that's right.
Oh, yeah, probably. There's a few names you'd probably recognise.
Yeah.
Ray Gardner from Canterbury. He died when he was very young.
Yeah.
And Ken McCaffrey. He played in the transport. And we got here Terry Fernley. Terry played in the transport. That's a well-known name from Parramatta, man.
Which one are you looking for?
Terry Fernley.
Which one are you looking at? Maybe show the camera if that's right. Look at it. So this is what he's looking at.
It was the death of the Boland brothers, Noel and he and played with Manly. There he is. Recognise him?
No.
Dennis Meaney.
Dennis Meaney. Okay.
Played with Western Suburbs. Dennis, he was in the transport boys. He ended up going to the country and playing country there for a long time. He spent 7 seasons with Manly and Western Suburbs.
Yeah, right.
Well and truly. Competition was very hot down there.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's a whole book out about the competition down there. I got Michael Curran a look at it.
Yeah.
That's the old bloody DMT at Rosebery. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Interesting stuff.
Now, flats.
Yeah.
Flats, God knows what. They must have made a fortune out of that.
Yeah.
Old days.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Anyway, what were we up to?
So, can you name... So you're one of the 7 people that have more tries and games? Minimum of 20 games.
Minimum of 20 games.
Because Charlie Staines doesn't really count. He's only played 2 games.
Geez, I don't know.
There's a couple of big names in there, but mostly... There's a few South Sydney players in here.
Norm Spillane wouldn't be one of them?
No.
He was... No, I'll be honest. I've got no idea.
Harold Horder.
Oh, God, I wasn't even alive. I was still a little speck in the sky, obviously.
Yeah. He scored 152 tries in 136 games for South Sydney, and I think North Sydney. I think he played for as well.
But when you really examine the early records, which Michael showed me one day how to get to them, early records, there were some big scores down there. There was a couple over 100.
Yeah, well, not quite 100. There was the record's 91-6. The Dragons over the Bulldogs in 1935, and guess what? The week later, the Roosters beat the Bulldogs 87-7. Week later, those are the 2 biggest scores ever.
I don't think there were any really big scores in any of the games when I played with South. I think in the 40s, I think they might have won there.
Yeah, there was the ones that you scored hat-tricks and 4 tries in. There was 46-19 over Manly.
46-19, and I think we beat Manly.
That was the biggest score.
Twice in that round in that competition, because you played 2 rounds and each side's two rounds.
Well, the other one was 35-26 over Manly. Yeah. And you scored a hat-trick in that. You like scoring tries against Manly.
Yes, great enjoyment. and I used to like scoring against Eastern Suburbs.
Yeah.
When I was playing for Mascot CYO, and when it was the first year that the junior league would look at the CYO, and they grabbed me and they grabbed the other winger, Kevin Doyle. I don't know if that rings a bell, and he was playing with Mascot, and he was residential in Eastern Suburbs.
No.
And so he went into East next year, and I went, but he made first grade before me because I had to wait 2 years.
Yeah, you had to wait till Johnny Graves. Johnny Graves is one of the other people on the list.
Is he? Oh.
Yeah, he scored. He scored 79 tries in 77 games. And he did, and I looked it up, he did retire in 1952.
To 52.
Yeah, so
That means...
53, you weren't playing end.
No,
Johnny was
53
playing.
I was playing reserve grade.
Yeah, so I wonder who was the winger in 53.
Well, it had to be...
I'll look it up.
Oh, hang on. Yes. Had to be... Smiles.
Is that what you're thinking
Cliffy
of?
Smiles.
Yeah, right.
That's who I thought it was, Cliffy Smiles.
He only scored 5... I haven't got all his records, but anyway. Okay, Cliffy Smiles.
Yeah,
I'll do some research.
That's who I was thinking of, Cliffy Smiles. Yeah, that name, as soon as you said it, I got it. That's the bloke I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So, now we'll talk about, I think, if that's right, the famous 1954 grand final.
Grand final. 1954 grand final.
So it was the first ever grand final. Is that right? So before then, I think they played a final, and if the...
No, that up till 1944, 54, got to get in a minute, 54, yeah. It was all, the provision was always there would be a grand final. And then from there on in, that was the last one to have a compulsory grand final.
Compulsory grand final, that's right.
So
yeah.
from there on in, it was money talking, because in preparation of 9 times, let's say it could be 10 out of 10, you wouldn't have to have a grand final because the minor premiers would win, and that's it.
Yeah.
So then they provided for the fact that they're going to have a grand final. So then they said, right, that's it. So then it was about that time they started fiddling with the scoring. We were 1-3-2-4, and I think from memory they reversed it around from there on in. And I think for a couple of years, number 1, who were the minor premiers, sat it out. And 2, 3, 4 and 5 played till they found somebody to challenge it.
Interesting.
And that was it.
There you go.
And the minor premiers got arrested the first week. and that was it. And then, of course, the money spoke by always having a grand final of the big bickies going through the turnstiles. That was it. That was the main reason in those days.
Yeah, right.
To guarantee to have it. It wasn't because of the fact that something might happen like me, trying to arrange to get married somewhere in the middle. No, Margaret was always unhappy about the fact that this if the boat would have left another week later, we were right.
Yeah,
we didn't have to do it. We would have been able to get at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's what we wanted, and that was it. So when I thought about it at a later date, on the night we were married at 6 o'clock. We had a reception at the Redfern Town Hall, and we were back in our hotel by about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think. And I haven't got any photos of the reception. Got none whatsoever. So I'm bugging them. I know what actually happened that day.
Yeah. That's no good.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I've got a few.
Yeah, there you
go. Well, in the grand final.
So maybe leading up to the grand final, it was a premiership winning team, so you guys were winning most of your matches. It would have been a good vibe around there. Or, people were happy and...
no, as always, footballers are told, you're going to win it, whether you like it or not. That's it. You go out with the attitude, and that was it.
Yeah.
I know it was, to me, it was my first grade grand final. I was hopping around like a bloody yo. I think I went to the loo about 14 times.
Yeah.
I'm sure I did,
Yeah.
That was it. And they're all trying to calm me down. These places... They've done it. They did it in 53 and 52, if I remember rightly. They're used to it. I wasn't.
Right, yeah.
That was about the size of it.
Yeah.
That's it. There was. I just wanted to get out there and get it on my over and done with.
Yeah.
And that was about the size. There wasn't anything special about it as far as I could see. Not if I had been able to remember what had happened. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think I even mentioned it to Margaret about what did we do. It's strange. I thought probably we would have headed straight back because we had I think I still got the air tickets, the studs of the air tickets there. Was put it in the, well, no, I didn't put it in there, Margaret put it in there, the stubs for the plane back. So we would have had to spend about 5 minutes out there and
I see you got married.
Get to Mascot.
Yeah. So you got married in
the week before.
The week before at Coolangatta.
And then...
is that right? At so the wedding was at Coolangatta?
Coolangatta. I had to go back to Coolangatta.
Why was the wedding in Coolangatta?
No, the wedding was Redfern Town. We got married at St Benedict's on Broadway and then a reception at the Redfern Town Hall.
Wow. Wait, why did you go to Coolangatta then?
Well, we got married the week before, and we got married on the 11th of September.
Yeah.
Which was the odd week, and we got married on the 11th and flew. So it was like a honeymoon. Honeymoon, and then I had to fly back on the. They gave me the exemption. I didn't have to be back on the Tuesday. I had to be back on the Thursday, so we flew back on the Thursday, and tell you how things were tight in those days. I flew back, and I got my fares paid, but they didn't pay Margaret's. If she came back with me, I had to pay her fares to fly back and then fly back to Coolangatta on the day we went. And then from there, because we had the car parked up there. Yeah. Oh, it's a long day. There was another anomaly there, and we got married on the 11th of September.
Yep.
I got my driver's licence on the 10th.
There you go.
And drove all the way to Queensland. God, it was a long bloody way in those days.
Yeah, far out.
I had an old 38 Hillman.
You left the car there and flew back? Left
it there and flew back, and then we flew back, and then we continued on with our wedding assembly, so I'll put it that way, and then we merrily made our way back. And that was about the size of it. We always said, it was a pity that Nan, or Grandma, she'd happened to be wanting to go to America on the day we were going to get married. That was, it was organised, trying to organise something there. To me, it seemed to be, a hell of a bloody nightmare, if I can put it that way. And there's another outstanding thing reminds me of my wedding night, that I got up the next morning. I had the car parked in Bench Street, near the old hotel down there. Couldn't find my wallet.
Oh, no.
It was on the front seat of the car. It's been out in the open all night.
Oh, jeez.
Walk up to the car and there it is, like this here.
Yep.
Nobody wanted it. So I went to pay the bill and I couldn't pay the bill because I couldn't find my bloody wallet. And I said, what have I done with my wallet? I said, you leave it in the car. And I said, I said to the bloke at the door, I said, I'm just going out to check my wallet. I said, can't find it. It wasn't the front seat of the bay car. Come inside and I thought, hey, nice people in those days.
Yeah.
I don't reckon it being parked in Bench Street.
Yeah, wouldn't survive today.
The window had been smashed and bang, they were in. That would have been it. Well, it's really.
Yeah.
That was painful. I think I was all confused that day.
Yeah.
After that wedding, it was nice to get away and relax. About completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you flew back to.
No, we flew back straight back on the night of the grand final. I suppose
flew back on the night of the grand final. Oh, sorry.
The night we flew back on the night when we played the grand final. But I'm not remembering it at all. Obviously, we went back because I woke up in Coolangatta. But I can remember that as plain. That rings a bell, plain as anything. And I tell you what, I had a headache. I don't mind telling you, I had one. About that. But that went away when she poured the bloody paraffin. Sorry, the methylated spirits rather than the paraffin on my side. Oh,
yeah.
I loved her for it. What was it?
Yeah.
It's about the size of it.
Yeah.
But we made. And come back to the madhouse in Sydney.
Yeah, that's right.
Slowly came back. Oh God. That was one thing helped at that time. Coming back in the car, I said I would never ever live in Glenninnis. We got in the car and we're looking for somewhere to stay, and Margaret said we might be able to get to the next town. The next town happened to be Glenninnis. We were about 7 o'clock at night. She said we better stop and get something to eat, because in those days there was all the country towns closed off. Opened up the door, opened the bloody door. I had to head around the car. Thank God it had one in those days. hot water was running through this night. I opened up the car and it was like bloody ice. So I said, back in the car, we're going on. She said, what? She said, what's the next town? I said, I got no idea. Of course, it was Armadale.
Yeah.
No troubles there. We got accommodation there, but, you know, oh, God.
Yeah, far out.
But I'd still like to know what happened on that day, you know.
Yeah.
I know I had a headache. I know that I could still. I've you know thought. It's definitely a blank.
Yeah.
Just like that.
How much of it do you remember? So you remember going out onto it was the SCG, right? Yeah.
I remember going out after half time, and I made particularly, and Jack said to me, because they put Kevin Considine opposite me.
Yeah.
And they put Preston against Ian.
Yeah.
And he said they might change them at half time, so have a good look when you get out there. I remember him saying that to me. And I remember when we lined up for the kick-off, and I looked across and Kevin was definitely opposite me. Now, like that's... And I remember, really nothing outstanding, no tries are scored or anything like that, but just the usual running about because as I said in those days, when I can remember going against Newtown, I think the first round of that year, we had 52 consecutive tackles because in those days there was no 5 tackle rule.
That's right, unlimited.
And if you're in front with 20 minutes to go, you close the game up. Get the forwards, just play the ball, go forward, play the ball, go forward. The other blokes, the only way they're going to get a chance to get the ball is to try to kick it out of your hands. Then you get a penalty, and they hope you don't put it out on the full, or you do done something stupid, you know, from there on in. But I got to agree with what the rugby league said about that. You know, it's too boring.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on. If you want to close a game up, you can do it. And if you've got a good pack of forwards, they can take it forward. You'll never take it off them. I mean, you're allowed to have a go at it. You know, you're allowed to try and take the ball off the bloke opposite you. Well, I reckon the big bugbear today, the thing today that should be got rid of, is the stripping the ball.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. It's got blokes on the ground that try and take it off him. And it's if you've got the ball, you should be able to take a ball off somebody. And I think that's all they're trying to do today is muscle the young blokes out of it. I mean, what chance you got today? You got the ball in your hands, you got your arm around it, and you got 5 blokes trying to take it off you. No wonder they lose it so many times than there's been to play the balls. It's understandable.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
There you go.
That's what fascinates me about, you know, when the rugby league's talking about they want to change the rules to an advantage. What have they done to change the advantage? They've taken some of the good rules out and put in bloody idiotic ones. Like that one, I reckon that's idiotic, stripping the ball off a bloke.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, God.
There you go.
If you got, I think the Canberra.
Josh Hodgson.
They take it time and time again. They can take it off a bloke because of the big forwards.
Yeah.
That's it. That's bloody terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, well, look, I can't help you with the second half of that bloody grand final. It doesn't mean a thing to me.
Yeah. Do you know who tackled you?
No. And I said to Margaret about it, I said, you know, what did happen? She said, I don't know. She said, I said, did I have the ball or somebody else have it? She said, no, I don't know. She said, it just was a jumble over in the corner and you were the only one stayed on the ground. And that was it. And I said, you know, how did I seem? She said, you got up and you wobbled all over the place. They told her to sit down again. And that was about the size of it. And then she said, they got you to your feet, and they said, they just sent you back to where you should have been. And she said, you just wandered around in the days. I said, you know, that would have been it. I said to Jack Rayner at a later date, in the next year, I said, do you think it might have been, I'm not saying they were dirty, but I said, do you think it might have been a fact that if you get rid of one of the wingers, that opens up their 2 wingers? Yeah. You know, to go, because they had 2 gutty good wingers with Kevin Considine and Ray Preston. Yeah. They were good. And if the idea was if you run the ball fast enough outside, get it to the wingers. And you've got the odd man sitting out there who's compass mendi, is that the word? Modern compass mendi, like it was. It hasn't rung a bell.
Mm.
Yeah, I have, in my lifetime, I've had a one other occasion when my grandmother died in Chippendale when we were there, and I've talked to Bill about this, my brother about it. I was 14 and we were in the bedroom. We slept upstairs. It was a double-storey place. And my grandmother slept in the step above at the top of the steps on a little small room there, which would have probably been in the old days, because these are very old houses in that area. It would have been pantry or something like that. She died.
Mm.
And I don't remember from Bill's always said to me, he said, you know, how the hell did they get it? These stairs went down, they were only about that bloody wide, you know, in the old days. And when you got to the bottom, it was curved to the right. And you got those steps which, you know, half step, quarter step, and you got to turn around the corner. They wrapped her in a blanket, it appears, and brought her down the stairs and had trouble getting her around the corner.
Mm.
I was 14, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Bill said, you don't remember? I said, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
And in those days, the idea was to put they did it with my father. They put the body in a coffin and leave it open in the house.
Mm.
And I remember him,
Mm.
old Annie, no idea.
Yeah.
Doesn't ring it, but something, you know, there's a bloggage there somewhere. Greg said, you don't remember that? And I said, no way.
Yeah.
And he sits there, he's telling me all about, you know, how far we can go back, and leaving me for dead. I got no idea. And I said, she's that photo is her photo of the stones in there, headstone, with a name on it, because they put the little bloke was moved from one. It was a double grave, and they moved it from one side to the other to fit her in. And I said to Bill, doesn't mean anything to me at all. And that's about. I mean, I haven't had too many, you know, absent minds and things go on, but there must be something there with me that something happens that I don't want to remember when I do it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I can I do remember waking up at Coolangatta.
Yep.
Wellington, to make that stupid bloody statement. Oh, we're back at Coolangatta. How do we get here? What a stupid statement.
Yeah.
You know, God, I would look at me and say, how do you think you got here? No, it didn't ring a bell. No, I must confess, I've probably her pouring the wrong medication, I'll put it that way, on my leg, probably helped me to a bit of memory to come back, because I can remember that, and I can remember, you know, from there on in, and I remember I had a roaring bloody headache, so I wouldn't have passed the fitness test today.
No.
I'd been left in the street in the side, but that was the day, and unfortunately that's what they did in those days. You didn't get time off, you know.
You just kept playing. And you had a crushed vertebrae, is that right?
Yeah.
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 I've got you start at around about the middle of the spine, then you go an L1, which is long one,
Yeah.
L1 to 2, 2 to 3,
Oh, yeah, the thing
3
you
to 4,
showed,
3.
yeah.
Then you get to 7, L7,
Yeah.
and that one is sitting on your cockpit, if I could put it that way, and that's the one where my trouble is, because it's sitting there, the other one's sitting on top of it. When I turn, it grinds. And I can feel it when I walk, you know, I'm walking around.
It's crazy. It happened
It's
so long.
and obviously it's got worse and worse over the years. Now the top ones are gone. I got the brakes on those. I got reports inside going back to '89. When you read that in there compared to the one that's on here, it's almost identical. So I've had the same thing all the way along. And I've tried everything with the kitchen sink over an operation, and when a doctor said to me, you know, chances are it's not going to take, and particularly when the bloke moves the typewriter, he only did that and cracked his back, and I said, no, it's not for me. I'd rather put up with it the rest of my life, and I have. The day I went to see the Indian doctor, I thought, and he said, you know, I said, what would you do to do it? Teresa was sitting there with me. She just looked at me. She said, "No, Dad, that's not on." I said, "No, it's not on, is it? That's for sure." No, not going to experiment. If I'd have wanted to done it, I'd have done it 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's about the size of it.
There you go.
So I just got to put up with it, whether I like it or not.
And you ended up in Coolangatta. I read in the article that you found out about who won the grand final in the newspaper. Is that right?
She'd been out to buy the papers. And when I said who won, she said, "Read about it."
Yeah, right.
And she gave it to me. I said, "Oh, we won." Well, then I remembered we were in front at that stage.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, I could be wrong, but if I remember rightly, I don't think there was any change in the score in the second half. I think it was the same as what it was. Everybody, the defence was going on, defend rather than attack.
Yeah.
Or we were trying to stop them from attacking, and that was about the size of it. And I thought, at the time, I would have loved to have seen a replay of that one. Unfortunately, not available. But I'd love to have seen the replay because with Ray out, it must have made it bloody hard. We only had 11 men basically.
Really?
Well, with me,
Ray Mason, is that right?
Ray Mason was injured.
Yeah.
That was mentioned in the paper. He was injured, and they couldn't replace him, and they had a full side. So I reckon our forwards were doing a bloody good job in the second half.
Far out.
I mean, Chico must have, he was like a tackling machine. He was everywhere. Chico Cowie. And when you think about it, God, I'd hate to have been the forward in those days. I mean, we're nowhere in the conditions as what they are today. I don't know how these blokes are lasting. The game is definitely faster, and they're trying to make it faster by eliminate scrums, just handovers.
Yeah, and the no penalty, the 6 again rule as well. Yeah,
6 again.
Yeah,
and that is one I cannot fathom. They keep call 6 again. I'm thinking, what? I can see the game. I said, what did he do? I've got no idea. No, I've seen it time. It's time and time again. 6 again. Why? What the hell is causing it to be done? I thought it might have been the fact that they're not resisting and they play the ball. They just try let the blokes maul them. I'll put it that way, and then do nothing about it. And then if they do, if they try to fight their way up to get up to play the ball, there's a reason for giving it. But I mean, you've got to have consistency. That's the whole bloody point of it. It's just wrong. I could change all the rules. You would love in the pub when we the Penrith Referees Association are live members. There's quite a few of us. It's stopped now since the change in the head bodies. The Referees Association has gone, and then RL's organising everything themselves. But we used to congregate at Penrith in one of the rooms at the Leagues Club. We're about 20 of us. A couple come from down at Melbourne. We sit around the table. You should hear the conversations going on about what refereeing was like today compared to then. We all come to the conclusion that if we refereed like they do today, none of us would have been doing first grade. It would have been A grade in junior league. We'd all be down doing C grade. We'd be dropped because of it. And I said to one of the blokes from the club, I said, from the referees, the current referees, I said, how do you get your ticket today? Do you get it by the rule book, or do you get it by what they're doing in the grade? You get your ticket today on the rule book. And I always remember the first thing in the rule book you open up, the objective of the game is to score tries. That is, put the ball behind your opponent's goal line. It's not a try line as they call it today, it's a goal line. And that's it. And the goal line used to be about that wide once. It's about the bloody thing there. So. And I thought, that's it. So to get your referee's ticket today, you've got to know what's in the book, but when you get to the football field, you don't implement it. You forget about it.
There you go.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what goes on. Yeah.
There you go. And so after the grand final, did you was there a big celebration with your teammates?
The next thing you get notified. I was notified at we would to be congregate at the old grandstand at Redfern Oval, which was the old one, which faced the other direction, so we could have photos taken and measurement for blazers. and that was it. And about 3 weeks later, they decided they had we told that the presentation to be at the New South Wales Leagues Club in Phillip Street. We just went off down there with our partners, as they put it, and that was it. And I got handed put a blazer on, get my photo taken. I don't know what happened to the photo. I've got no idea. I've still got the photo. I got a two first grade and a reserve grade one inside, and they stay there. And I don't know what it is. They used to give the ladies a present. My wife got an urn.
Oh, how good.
I'm not joking. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's got the same. When you put the lid on, it's got the poke on the top. It won't go. It's still in there. Margaret said, "Shall I throw it out?" And I said, "It might be worth money one day. You never know." One day I might get on now I've got this. I might get on one day and try and get a quote and see what it's worth. I mean, it's 55 years old now, so surely it's grown a bit in money wise rather than the old days. It's got Great Britain underneath it with a trademark on it, and I think, what the hell? But that's what it was like in those days. I think Margaret when we won this reserve grade one, she got a set of beads.
Yeah, nice.
For her arm.
What year was that? You remember? 53?
53.
Yeah.
The 53 one.
Yeah.
You know. And I was the unlucky one in that when the 52 one came up because the third grade didn't win. We played the grand final, but we didn't win the game. The first grade and the reserve grade both won. We didn't make it. We were the losers. Yeah. I know there was no organised things at all like that. It was like just the aftermath of the grand final was just like a normal day. Go in, have a shower, get your gear, say goodbye to the boys and see you Tuesday afternoon. And that was it. You walked out. And then there was no, even after we down to the Leagues Club, the night that we were there, and it was not unusual celebrations of any description. And you see them, why they carry on a day. I think, bloody hell, were we like that? I just can't believe it.
There you go.
No, Jack's idea, I always remembered him. He scored the try. Go on, get back down there, take up your positions.
Yeah.
Then today you see them all congregate and have a bit of a discussion while they kick the goal. No, fan out.
Yeah, right.
That's it. Get back into position. And that's the way it was.
Yeah. And 1955. So you played 5 games, scoring 3 tries.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, you would have had pretty bad. You had a bad back.
At that stage, I'll be honest. I can tell you now, it was bloody terrible. I was sore as buggery, and I didn't want to be tackled, and I didn't want to tackle, and that was about the size of it. And I'm thinking, look, I've got all that pain all around, but this all comes vibrating out from the waist mainly because it's like I'm grinding on top of it. And I remember that night thinking, these bloody tablets, these pills. And I did have boils at that time, and I still had them because at that stage I wasn't aware. At that stage I was allergic to penicillin, and that was the size of it. And I noticed actually in reading that thing about the bullous pepigoid or whatever it is, they say that it's possible you could be, if you are allergic to penicillin, you could have something in another medication somebody's given you, and that could bring it on. And I seem to think that might have been what's caused it here, that one. But I'll take peppers to the back any time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
So then after the 5 games, you just said, "No, I've had enough."
No, I saw Jack.
Yeah.
And about it, and I said, he said, hey, we know blah, 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 and we didn't have a medical officer in those days. Anything you had to get, there was no medical doctor with the South Sydney cleared. And he said, it'd be a good idea to sit the games out. So he said, we'll see what happens from here on in. So I sat that one out, and then the next one, then the next one. And I still had the boils. I couldn't get rid of the bloody things. And they were starting to go, and then that was when there was an old doctor that I was seeing in Redfern, and I went to him and he tested me and he said, I think you're allergic to penicillin. I'm going to change you over to streptomycin, which was the other wonder drug they used during the war. And when I started to get those, within about a week, it started to clear up.
Mm.
So by then the season was pretty well done, so I said to Jack, that's it. So by the time the end of the season came, then I discovered I was still pretty sore, and it was a problem. Then I went to see a doctor again.
Because of your back.
And then he said it's your back. It's not got nothing to do with what's your complaint with the boils. He said you've cleared that up. He said it's the back. So they I think all they did in those days was they took an X-ray of it and detected there was a problem on the spine. And that was about size, so I stayed out and hadn't cleared up by the time next year training was due to start again. So I got in. I went to see Jack at Redfern, and I said I think it's good, and he said put me a few bends up and down. He said no, that's still there. He said it's a good idea. I said I think I was just throwing the nail, and that's it. And from there on, I didn't get any better. I got worse, I think, about it.
Yeah, right.
Because they started the doctor I was only started doing exercises and things like that, and I reckon what actually happened, it was making it worse rather than better. And that was the way it happened. So I decided, and that's when I got a message from Darcy Lawler. He wanted to see me, come out the juniors. And I went out to see Darcy, and he said, blah, 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 and he said, good idea if you retired. He said there's definitely a problem there, and he said, we want referees, everybody can't get in your ticket. And I said, if I can't run, if I can't play football, I can't run. He said, no, you'll notice the difference straight away. He said, you're exercising your back, you're not being tackled with it, and that was about the size of it. But I was upright like that in those days, but as you can see now, I'm bent over. My doctor's always saying to me, bend up, get up, put your back up. I said, if you were the back like me, you wouldn't want to stand up.
Yeah.
That was it, But the people, you're going to laugh when I tell you this, my most comfortable seat in the house, my car. I can sit in the driving seat.
Right.
My poor old neighbour across the road, Betty, she was the first to discover it. I was going out and sitting in the car on a cool day, not just sitting in the car, and I had a book.
Yeah, great.
I used to put the book on the steering column, the steering wheel. One day she was over there watching me, unbeknownst to me, and she said, I watched you for 20 minutes and you didn't move. And I thought, she said, will I go over, is he dead? She said, I started to walk across the street and I'm hoping you'll move. And I said, no. She said, when I got there, your eyes were closed. She said, oh my God, something's happened to Liz. So she tried to open the door. When she opened the door, oh, thank God, she said. What? She said, I've been watching you for 20 minutes. She said, you haven't moved. I said, oh, where's my book? It's on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's how I just discovered that if I really gets bad during the day now, I just go out and sit in the car, parked in the sun, and it seems to make it nice and warm, but then can't get too warm because of this, it's on my arms. And just sat over there. She said, oh God, I was scared that you were dead. I said, well, thanks very much. I said, what were you going to do? She said, I was going to bring you over a cup of tea. Oh, God. But I reconcile myself to the fact it's not going to get any better, and that's all he's doing.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So unfortunately, I can't fill you in on that definitely day. I've tried to my mind for 50 or more years now, trying to work out, will it come back? It just refuses to come. Yeah. That's it. So it's gone for all time. Fortunately, there's no, as she said, there was nothing, detrimental happened on that day. She thought I was all right. I'd got out of it. She said, every time I think she said, I only think you got tackled once in the whole time, the second half. And she said, but you were wandering around like you didn't know where you were. Yeah. And I said, well, that's a sure sign of concussion, I suppose.
Yes, it is.
That's about the size of it.
Yeah.
But the next morning, I've woken up and it's gone. Except the feeling of dizziness and all the rest like that. All they had was this, and I remember I did have a sore back. I saw back, and I was hungry. I remember that. And I thought, it's breakfast time today. And I remember, but there was one other thing that I remember. I remember looking around and saying, where am I? And then I said, I thought automatically, as soon as I said that we parked at somebody's house for the night, on that night.
Mm.
And then she was away going. I think she'd been and got breakfast. She reckoned I was sound asleep when she left. So she went down and had breakfast down. We were at the beach house, and up there. She said she went down and had breakfast, and thought she'd have it and can come back and wake me up and take me down to get breakfast. When she walked in the door, I remember saying that. Oh, hello. She said, "How are you feeling?" So I feel all right. Bang. Where am I? Oh, shit. Went back and killed the cat, huh? How do we get back there? She said, well, you come with me. You come with me to the mascot. We got you the mascot. And she said, I didn't think you were too well. But she said, I asked you about 14 times, are you all right? And you told me yes. Sorry. That was about the size of it.
Yeah.
And that was what we did. I said, we went to the airport and we got a cab back to the beach house, and she said, you got inside, went straight to bed, and that was, so she said, I just thought you're a bit tired. That was about the size of it.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. So that, nothing rings a bell. No, to my, it should be back by now if it's anybody.
Mm.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Gone for all time.
Mm. Yeah.
And as far as, after that, it means nothing. It was
Wow.
just another day, I suppose. That's about all you could say.
Yeah, right.
It didn't.
It was more than just another day.
Well, I think in a way that everybody else in South Sydney, first grade and through reserve grade, they've been through it 3 times.
Yeah, that's right.
That was my first exhibition, of that in that first grade, and I know that I was like crapping myself. I'll be honest. Honest, it was before I ran out, and my fear was what was going to happen was what happened. I think it was I know it was either 52 or 51. The full time of the reserve grade in those days, which had to be third grade because I was playing third grade. It had to be reserve grade. They were drawn. They had to turn them around for an extra 10 minutes each way.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And where they all go back and they go back inside.
Yep.
And that was it. That was the third grade. That's what it was. The third grade got and we were waiting to go out on the third grade. Everybody was saying, hey, kick a goal, kick a goal, kick a goal. There was and suddenly the full-time bell rang and away they got, and I said, no, I've got to turn them around 10 minutes extra. Oh, we all back inside and said, I've got to do this again. Wait it out, More visits to the poo.
Yeah.
More visits. You can't have anything like it. Yeah.
I've got a few more.
Yeah, go right ahead.
More questions, not too many more. I haven't finished written out the list of people that have scored more tries in games.
Oh, yeah.
So Harold Horder,
Johnny Graves,
Don Manson. Have you heard of Don Manson? He scored 5 tries on debut. He has a record for tries on debut. I think he played for South Sydney.
No.
24 tries in 21 games. At 1937, around then, before he came.
There was a Manson playing for Western Suburbs, and I don't think it was him.
No. Charlie Hazelton. I don't know too much about Charlie Hazelton. 27 tries in 26 games. Have you heard of him? No.
No.
Fred Totty. Have you heard of Fred Totty?
No.
77 tries in 77 games. And there's one more person. Can you guess who it might be?
Ray Preston.
No, Ray Preston didn't even.
Didn't he?
No. Reg Gaznia.
Oh, Reg.
Yeah.
Oh.
127 tries in 125 games.